Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt man! All right! Episode 288 of Shirt Show! We're talking with John from Glorified Carpenter Podcast in Massachusetts. Let's go!
Hey guys, if you're new here, my name is Dylan. I am the owner of Upstate Merch and the host of the Shirt Show podcast. My guest today was my buddy John Hourihan from the Glorified Carpenter. He has a podcast. He used to be part of another podcast called The Modern Craftsman. John's one of those guys who builds these crazy homes that you get to see, you know, like a bowling alley in a barn. He's done everything. He's worked his way up from raking stone to being on these huge projects, building these crazy houses. But he has an interesting perspective in the industry because he's done it all. So it's really cool to kind of hear his story and see how he got to where he is, the ups, the downs, all the challenges. And he has a really great perspective. We talk about this later in the episode, but one of the things that John is really good at that we kind of got into is just the optimism and the way that you can kind of motivate your people to get them to put out the best possible craftsmanship. No matter where you're listening or watching this show from, the best thing you could possibly do to help us out is to share the episode. If you can, post something on Instagram stories of where you're listening or what you're printing or what you're doing, that would be great. I'd love to hear from you. If you can take 1 second, hit the like button and leave a comment on YouTube if you're watching, that would go a very, very long way for us. I'd appreciate it. Also, if you want to dive deeper into these episodes, we have a weekly newsletter now. If you want to sign up, go to shirtshowofficial.com/newsletter. I give kind of a beginning chunk about my week and what's going on with the shop and our industry. Then there's industry news provided by Printing United. There's tech tips, there's marketing tips, and there's shop hacks. So if you want to check that out, that'd be awesome. Go to shirtshowofficial.com/newsletter. This show would not be possible without our amazing partners. Frank. It all starts with a screen. Whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, greatfuckingscreens.com, or ffffrank.com. Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals and equipment make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Right now is a great time to check them out because they have their new monthly giveaway where you have a chance to win $250 in product credit. Head to easyway.com/giveaway to enter today. EasyWay is the easiest way. GraphX is your source for production-ready digital art and remote art staffing. They can help any size shop from just starting out to enterprise level. Looking to add a hero to your art department? Check them out at graphxsource.com. SNS is your premier partner in the apparel industry with one website, one purchase order, 14 distribution centers, and over 100 beloved brands. You can streamline your ordering and hit free freight faster than ever. SNS has 1 to 2 day shipping with the lowest error rate in the industry. Be sure to order your blanks from ssactivewear.com. Today's episode is brought to you by American Apparel, makers of the iconic 2001. Soft, fitted, and always in style, this shirt has been the go-to for brands, bands, and print shops for decades. If you want a shirt people actually want to wear, start with the iconic 2001. For over 90 years, Stahls has been a leading choice among apparel decorators for their heat transfer materials, heat press equipment, and custom transfer services. Not only do they offer some of the best products, but they're always looking to innovate and educate our industry on all things heat press. Head over to stahls.com to order your transfers or check them out on YouTube to be taught a thing or two. Ryonet has been that solid go-to resource for screen printers. Not only are their supplies super reliable, but their network of education and support is next level. Whether you're figuring things out or fine-tuning your process, they've got your back. Check them out at screenprinting.com. Me and John did talk a lot about community because his podcast and this one both have a large community around them of people just trying to learn and, share knowledge together. One of the things that we talked about is the Discord channel. So if you're new to this industry or you've been around for a while and you just want a place to hang out and talk about screen printing, embroidery, digital, whatever, check out our Discord channel, shirtshowofficial.com/Discord, or there's links on the YouTube or links on our Instagram. Go check it out. Join the community. It's totally free. You can do it from your desktop and you can do it from the app on your phone. So check it out. I want to say I appreciate every single one of you for listening to these episodes. It means the world to me. If you want to chat with me personally, you can hit me up on Instagram at Shirt Show Official. Let me know if there's a guest you want to hear. Let me know if there's a topic you want to talk about. I'm here, I'm available, and we can talk about it. Again, I would really appreciate it if on YouTube you left a comment. Just tell me anything about the episode that you liked or that meant something to you, or share it on Instagram. It would be a huge help. Appreciate you all. Thank you. I hope you enjoy the episode. What's up?
What's going on, handsome?
Dude, holy shit. It's about time.
You tell me. I'm having a hard time with this one. I'm slightly nervous.
Nervous?
Yeah, man.
We're both seasoned professionals at this point.
Yeah, I guess I'm more nervous about like your audience.
It's out of your industry. It's a little different.
I know. That's why I'm like, God, let's do a bunch where I'm like, all right, even the last, well, not the last guy, but the second to last guy, maybe he didn't screen print, but he was all about bands and you guys are all business.
No, the thing is like me and you have known each other for a long time now. And the thing is like, I always tell people on this show that like our industry and your industry are very, very similar. We just do different things. Like we're both dealing with these clients. We're both getting their artistic visions and we have to make them a reality and like all these other things. It's the same shit. And just instead of me printing their merch, you're building a house.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot more on the line on your side than on my side, but still like there's got to be a million similarities to the project.
No, agreed. It definitely is. I just, you're gonna love this. I ran upstairs right when I got home and I grabbed a whole bunch of shirts, all my favorite shirts, so I could talk shirts with you.
I love it.
I'm a psychopath.
Well, yeah, I wanted to have you on, John, because again, like we've talked over the years. There's a lot of similarities in industry stuff. I've done this podcast for like 5.5, almost 6 years now, and
congrats, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, like I've talked to a million shops about stuff and I talk to like other things. And I feel like more and more now I want to talk to people in screen printing and everything, obviously, but like every once in a while, change it up to get outside perspective, because the whole goal with all of this is all of these shops are in their own bubble, which is, it's got to be the same for you and your podcast and all this other stuff. Is like these builders or whatever can be in their own little world of their own little local economy and they're doing their thing, but if they don't go out into the world or dive deep into their industry, they're never going to leave that bubble of experience and knowledge and all these other things. And I think one thing in my industry that we have is we have this summit every year that's called Print Hustlers, where basically they have speakers, but they're like out of our industry speakers that talk about how they got to where they are and challenges and all this other stuff. And everybody always leaves inspired because they're like, oh, I didn't think of that. And it's like, yeah, well, we're talking about shop owners individually having their own little bubble. But then screen printing world in general is its own bubble because everybody stays in the screen printing world. Like all printers are talking to other printers, but we never learn from other industries because we don't talk to other ones. So with this, I'm thinking, okay, let me get like people I know or people I haven't met before that are in other industries that are like, oh, well, yeah, we figured that shit out like 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
our industry.
I've never had it figured out. I think I'm always just,
no, nobody does. But I'm just saying, there's stupid stuff. There's like, management of this or time or whatever that certain industries are like, oh, we figured that out. The problem with our industry, which is probably similar to yours, is some dude with a hammer can be like, oh, I want to start a carpentry business, and then he just like learns as he goes and figures it out and does all this shit. And
I think the biggest thing for most of us is that, here's the thing is like, what's the avenue? Like when I get into it and I get in the business, it's a low bar of entry. You need a couple hand tools. Literally, you just need some might just to kind of put the effort forward. And if you have effort and you have that, then you can get started. There's really like, there's not much. The problem is then when
the barrier of entry for you is less than me. Like we've always talked about in our industry, how it's low. It's like, oh, for, $1,000, you can buy like a cheap press and a cheap dryer and you can make it work. But yeah, yours is just grit and determination and a hammer.
Yeah. Maybe not even the hammer to get started. They want to test you out. I think nowadays, and then the problem is no one knows the route to success or the beautiful word called wealth. And I think or success and all those things. So it's like, where do you go? And then you find yourself in your own little bubble. Like you said, I think the beauty with why I started the podcast and what we did back in the day with the old podcast was finding a sense of community. And that's where it becomes huge. And like when I'm talking to, Voc students and kids that get into it, it's like you can still get in this whole energy of, competition, which is healthy. I'm a competitive guy for no apparent reason over everything. Just on a daily basis. I'll tell a good story later, but you don't have to be. I think rising tide rises all boats. That's the most common and cleanest line. And I think if that can be done, in your industry, in your niche, in your area, then all power to you. It's only going to raise prices. That's the biggest, I think, rub for us is that, the price point for us and percentage of all our stuff, you're willing to pay for sneakers that are marked up 300%, but we have to scrape by with, I think our take home is 6% profit on a lot of projects. And that is like lower than restaurants. And so it's really hard to stay competitive and to deal with any sort of shrapnel, so to be successful, it's really tough and you need to hone every bit of your skill and then business, which is tough to do. And no one tells us that.
And the hard part is for somebody to learn all of that without knowing anything, just being that guy who's like grit, determination, and a hammer. Like, where do you begin? How do you learn all that stuff? So for you particularly, I want to start at the beginning of where and how did you want to start in this career path?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if I knew. It was really, I started doing landscaping when, like your buddy. It's really how it shakes out is I had no one in my family is in carpentry or in building or any of that stuff just to get out of the way. And I think one of my good friends I played hockey with, he was a landscaper. So I, piggybacked a ride with him, jumped on that crew and thought this was awesome. I'm going to cut lawns like Fenway Park. Like it looks straight, the overlaps are crisp and they're clean. I never touched a mower. I think I was lifting bags of crap all day and shoveling mulch and doing that. And I just found myself really, even at, I didn't even have my license. Maybe I had my permit. And I knew right then and there, I didn't know a lot, but I knew that this wasn't it. This wasn't what I was set out to do or being challenged or any of those things. And I wasn't a huge student. I didn't love school at all. I was dying to get out of it. Like high school, I was like, dude, get me out of here. When can I don't even know what to move on to, but just this isn't it.
Isn't that fun? This is a sidebar, but isn't that funny? Like every successful person I know, especially in my industry or even outside of this, we're all misfit people. We were never like, oh, I was straight A's and I whatever. Like, I feel like that world of people are the ones who get into an already done industry and they're like the top of their game for that. Like if you're a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, it's like you're in a kind of a mold of I want to do this thing and do it really well, but I didn't have to like start from scratch kind of thing. I'm sure that's not the case for everybody, but I feel like us people who are like, oh, fuck school. I don't want to do this. I want to work with my hands, but I want to figure it out are like the scrappy ones who start these like creative businesses and things like that.
I know. The only problem with that is the creative part of it is that there's no one else in line when things go sideways. It's your livelihood. It's your identity. It's your life. It's everything to you. And that can be hard. But yeah, when I first got started, I was doing that. And obviously I was watching This Old House and I was watching, a Sunday morning PBS stuff with New Yankee Workshop and I loved it. And I didn't know I loved it, but then you look back and, think about like building forts and all that stuff. I took so much satisfaction I didn't even know I was getting from building little things or building bike ramps. What's funny is I was the kid that would, I'd be the one that always built the bike ramp, like but super high, super crazy. Never jumped it.
Yeah, fuck yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
I would build it higher and whatever people wanted, I would crush it and would build everything from BMX bike courses to the whole 9 yards. And that was my jam. I would lose myself for hours, days, whatever it was, like get out of school, ride your BMX bike to that spot and just pick up where you left off like nothing. Time just stopped. And I love that. But I never recognized it.
But it's just like you said before, like I'm really into mowing lawn, and it's like one of my favorite things to do. Like I bought the lake property like, I don't know, 3-4 years ago at this point, and nothing's built on it. Nothing's happened. I just fucking mow it like once a week. And it's like, I look forward to going up and mowing it. And people ask me all the time, they're like, why do you like mowing the lawn so much? I'm like, it's kind of what you're describing with like building the bike ramps the fact that you want to do landscaping is like, it's satisfying as hell because you can set your mind to it and you can finish that project in like a couple hours. Like you can actually look at it and be like, I accomplished this. You get that satisfaction, that rush of like, oh, I completed this project, and then you get to move on. I feel like the ADHD people that a lot of us are look at projects, big projects, and we're like, cool, I'm going to do this. And then they get like 2 hours into it and they're like, oh, I got to do this other thing now. And then you end up with a bunch of unfinished projects, which just add anxiety and stress and everything else. But there's these things with building things like this where it's like, oh, I can get this satisfaction of doing this thing and I can move on. Like it's done and I can see the progress. And
it's funny, like just not to get in the weeds, but when you're mowing a lawn, like I have an acre of land and I used to mow it. And now I'm just like, I enjoy the satisfaction of coming home and it's perfect. Like no leaves, no nothing is such an amazing feeling, but that's not a humble brag. But it's like when I was mowing it, like to figure out what the overlap is, like the perfect overlap. So you may have mowed your lawn 100 times. I will sit there and be like, oh, so the front wheel is, if I just go to the edge of the last cut, is that enough or is that too much? And then you're playing this little game, and before you know it, the 25 to 100 turns is over, and you still haven't perfected it in your head. That's where I get lost in that minutia of these little tiny improvements that before you know it, I haven't listened to a podcast that's been on, but I haven't retained any of it. And I'm trying to, and then like I turned it over to my boys, my 18-year-old and my 14-year-old, and they would just cut in random patterns and like nothing straight. And I can't tell you how much it bothered me. They didn't know this, but I was just like, what are we doing?
You're on
Take
fire.
some pride in it. Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, well, are you seeing what I'm seeing? That's just chaos. And so, yeah, I thought I would be good at it. And I thought I would crush at it. And honestly, I thought it's something that was easy to scale when I was little. Like, oh, I got to get a mower. I can buy a piece of crap mower off whatever, not even offline. It was like buying something, someone's throwing one out, and I could just start mowing lawns. I thought it was an easy kind of thing where I could control it. And then we'd always walk past out here. There's a couple called Wapple Woodworkers. It's changed names now to like Wapple Outdoors or Outdoor, whatever. And they make like fences and all that. But there was a factory right in the center of town. My mom would walk by it, and I'd always whole stuff. They had this rack of like just kindling. They called it kindling. I was just like, this is free wood. So I would walk by with my mom and I'd grab stuff. And so I was always kind of tinkering with stuff and doing that. And then I decided that after that summer of doing landscaping, I was like, I'm going to have my license. I should figure out a job. So I looked in like the Yellow Pages, whatever it was, the newspaper, and I grabbed an interview with a builder. And it was like so off the cuff, sit in the tailgate and be like, yeah, what do you want to do? I'm going to try this. Okay. Why don't you come Monday? Like, I don't know how much I'm making. And it's literally like 7:00, be here. And I was like, all right, do that. And then the way it went back then was that if you showed up for a week, then we'd talk about what you make, or you get a paycheck and figure it out.
Which is funny too, because we have that in our industry. I feel like, well, at least in my experience, is I've hired probably 5 or 6 people that have just came for an interview. We've never talked about like money at all. It was just like, hey, would you fit in here? And then they leave and then they show up. Well, I'm like, yeah, show up on Monday and work for a week. And then at the end of that trial week, I like give them cash, which they have no idea how much it is or how much they made per hour. I'm like, here's cash for what in my head this was. And then when they actually start and open their paycheck, they're like, oh, I make $17 an hour. Like they had no idea. Like they never asked. It was just, oh, I'm going to work at the screen printing shop now, which is just, it's wild to be like, I mean, I do think that's
part of my problem going forward is that then you get into the industry, even if it was just laboring. Like I think my first task on a job site was raking stone, 3/4 inch stone in the foundation, like the backfill. And I did that so hard that I remember the next day, like I couldn't rake like left to right. Like I'm a righty, so pulling that way, I couldn't pull because I hurt so much. Right. So I had to like figure out how to do it lefty the next day. But I was so, and I've thought about this a lot, just full disclosure is like, I'm a big person of like taking things apart. Like if it's a big game of solitaire, each part of my life and taking it all the way back to like
Right.
the original, deck of cards. And the goal was to acquire more skill and to be more of an artisan and not be a laborer as long as I could. Like to try and, if there's 5 guys on a crew, who can I don't need to be the fastest person, but I need to be faster than Bill or Joe or whatever.
Yeah.
And so my goal very early on, that competitiveness for me was how do I pick up those skills? And so I was chasing skills and I was living at home, obviously. I didn't have many expenses. I think I bought my truck outright with like, I saved my money from like birthday parties and all that crap. Don't ask me how. I just didn't have anything. I didn't spend on anything.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have any. I remember when I worked, I say this story all the time. I used to put all my paychecks in my visor to my truck. And I'd have like 5, 6, maybe 7 of them.
You're that dick who doesn't cash your paycheck and then all of a sudden cashes 10.
Yes, that was
I
me.
fucking hate that so much. My employees do it
that
all the
was me.
time. They're just like, oh, I don't need this. And then they just cash it all at once. And it's like, God damn it, where did all this money go? And it's like, oh, so-and-so finally cashed all their paychecks.
And my boss would know that. He goes, you cashing those anytime soon? I go, no. He goes, wait another week or whatever it was.
Right, because he already
started
spent
to
it.
understand. Yeah, I don't know. And I was so oblivious to money back then. I just banked it. And I wasn't all about buying tools. I bought what I thought, not strategically, like, oh, this is the move. Like for you guys, it's like certain things you can scale up your business. As being a carpenter, we were a jack of all trades. So we do everything from like, I learned how to do gas work in Brookline on Abbott Street. The guy that was the nephew of the owner. The owner was like 62. This guy must have been 40. I felt old, which is like my age now.
Right.
And
at the time it was old.
Old, yeah. And that's how he did it. He did gas. It was live. It was a huge building, so we didn't have to shut it off. We were on the first floor. He would just, he opened the fittings and threw gum in the actual pipe. So we could then do the rest of the fittings and then put it back in. So we were doing everything from electrical, plumbing, gas work, foundation work. We do it all, roofing. And so it was a great experience for me. And I was just gobbling it up like a sponge that just couldn't get enough saturation. That was my jam. And
I think that's just like a cool mindset though. And it's something that like should be like the first thing taught in like a school or you teach your kid or something is like go into a job with the mindset of like you were talking about raking or something. It's like, oh, I don't want to just be like, okay, I'm just going to rake every day. Like that's your future. It's just like, oh, my job is to come in and rake. And we all know people that are like that. They clock in, they just do the raking and then they clock out and they go home and whatever. And the next day they rake again. But it's like you were always looking for, how do I show the people above me that I'm worth doing the thing that's next or the thing that's them or whatever. So anyway, you learned from all these people and then what was next?
No, so I just kept doing that and I loved it. I ended up going to college. I wasn't even going to go to college. It was, I wanted to be a Marine because I wanted to be a firefighter. And the only way to be a firefighter was to be a vet back then, like a veteran.
You mean
and
like
so
a paid
I was like,
firefighter?
Yeah. Like being a force. That was kind of, because you could do that and then do carpentry or whatever it was going to be, like the other 5 days a week. I'm being sarcastic.
Right.
They do like 2 days on, 5 days off. But that was my jam. I was like, this is my goal. And so I even had like the firefighter's book to take the test. And, I was like, all right, this is what I'll do. And then I was playing hockey my whole life. And, I just decided that, my buddy was getting recruited, in high school for college. And I was like, that's cool. Good for you, man. Like I had, like, there was no like jealousy or like anticipation or whatever. I never thought I was really that good. And then the colleges that came to see him was like, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what are you thinking? Like, you want to come to this school? I'm like, and do what? Like, what are we talking about? And so they would talk to you like I was a caveman and be like, so what are you interested? What do you like? And I'm like, well, in high school, I won an award for architecture, like drawing and all that stuff. And I was like, you do architecture? They're like, done. Architecture. So I ended up interviewing at like 3 or 4 schools for hockey, not for academics. And I ended up sticking with a local, town, school in town, which is Wentworth. And I went there for architecture and play hockey. So 18-year-old straight out of high school playing college hockey. And it was the life, it was such a huge, change, reality check. And I ended up doing schooling, and I crushed at high school for architecture. Like, I loved drawing it. It was super simple. I ate it up too. And I was working every summer doing everything. And I was on the side building like hockey stick furniture. And then I was even, I worked at the hockey rink, driving the Zamboni. So I'd go home from college on Fridays. I was a big social guy. I'd go home and go drive the Zamboni on Friday nights. And I'd do that and then
Big
work at Home
guy.
Depot. Huge social guy. I don't think I started drinking until I was a sophomore in college, to be honest with you. It wasn't my jam.
Good for you.
And yeah, I mean, I didn't, a little catching up to do, but then now I'm out of it again. I don't drink again.
Good man.
And I ended up doing 3 or 4 jobs my freshman year. And I would do classes, and then I would go to like a class, and I wouldn't have class for 3 hours. I'd go to work. Like, I turned into like the production guy at work, meaning like someone was on the phone with someone today, and like, you're the passion guy. So I'd be the guy that showed up, and like, I would want to cram, if I had 4 hours, I'd try and cram 8 hours of work in that 4. And that's what I would do every time. So whatever it was, I'd be pouring concrete and then go back to my 4 o'clock class covered in concrete. And that's just how I did it. And I loved it. I was learning. And then, I found myself in college working my ass off to be middle of the pack for architecture. And that was an eye opener to me, because I had no concept of where I would fall. I just, that competitiveness, I wanted to be, what they would do is you'd have this presentation to do, and then you'd draw it, do whatever it was, and you'd present it to the class. And then they'd tell you straight up where you fell. Oh, you're 15th out of 30 people. And it's like doing that for a semester, and the amount of hours you're putting in versus what you're getting back for, relative competitiveness in that class. I was like, I'm struggling. Like, forget about the grade. It just, I wasn't competing well enough, and I was putting everything I had into it. And these people were just way more talented than me. And then I at the same time, working all day at work, doing whatever it was, stripping a roof, whatever it was, millwork. I didn't care. I just was like, dude, I'm not going to sit behind a desk. Like, I just never, like, what are we doing right now? And I was lucky enough that within the first 2 years, almost all those classes, besides the electives, I could just jump right over, and I switched over to construction management. And, again, I was more residential based for what I was doing on a daily basis, like ripping houses apart and ripping roofs off and gutting stuff. And for college, it was more commercial based, but I could find myself using a lot of the tools from, structural classes to, psychology and all these things. And it was like having these little, the matrix, the zeros and ones. I could see more of those after each class. And I was like, oh, I can use that person's strength, or that guy sucks at that. Or
that's the best way to put it, though. In all honesty, it makes total sense. Like, seeing the matrix at a job site, you're kind of looking for things. Like, a lot of people aren't looking for things necessarily. They're just in it and doing it, and you're picking it apart.
And even the people, and to try and get more things done. And I guess I don't really know where the whole ambition part of it came, in wanting, like you said, there's people that will just rake. I don't know. And there's people that I've met in the industry, coming up in the industry, just didn't want to manage, didn't want to have crews. I remember when I was a junior in college, the crew I was still on, I was like, hey, I want to fire and hire people. Because I think I had a class in school when I was like, oh, this is what you do, blah, blah. And I was like, I've never hired or fired anybody in my life. So I remember I went to my boss. We were in Jamaica Plain doing this rip the roof off a cape and add a second story. Okay. And he's like, all right, yeah, you can hire people and you can fire people. Yeah. And I'm like, not even maybe I was 20. And he's just like, so I remember, there was this guy on the crew that everything he was like I think he's semi football player or something like that. So there's like a low level football player, huge guy. And I'm 5'8" on a good day. And, he's like, everything I asked, I'm like, hey, we're doing the roof. Let's frame the roof. He's like, yeah, I don't like heights. I don't do heights. I'm like, all right, then you can cut. And then he's cutting just really sloppy. I'm like, so you can just clean up. Like, we'll just, like, you get me, like, you worked your way down the rolls on the job site. And then my boss came to me, like, I think a week later, and he's like, yeah, you can let that guy go. And I was like, oh, that's right. You asked for this. You asked to do this. And
now
I remember
you have to walk up to this fucking beast of a man and be like, yeah, you can't work here anymore.
No, it was like the whole day, dude. Like, whole day I was thinking about this. Like, do I do it early? Do I do it? He didn't get the only guidance my boss, every single thing, whether it was grouting a bathroom or framing something, everything was a test. Everything. So like he would sit there and go, all right, yeah, you can let that guy go. Not when, not like what to say to him, nothing. And I remember at lunch, I packed up all his tools upstairs. So they're like all in one spot. And then I remember at the end of the day, I was like, so, hey, we're going to let you go, blah, blah. And I remember this exact thing. He goes, why? And I was like, fuck, no one told me he's going to ask questions.
I thought he was just going to turn around and leave.
Yes, like back up this stuff. I'm like, I put your stuff over there. You can head out. And he asked me that. And this happened like Frank the Tank. I just blacked out and was just like, yeah, dude, I mean, everything I ask of you have a reason why you can't do it. And then you don't have a reason for what you can do. So we need doers here because otherwise I'm doing everything that you're not. So like, this isn't going to work. And I don't know how you don't see that. And I remember I just said all that, like I puked it all out at once. And then I looked up at him like 3 feet in the air and I was like, this guy's going to kill me. And then I remember he went upstairs and threw all his shit out the window where all the stuff was. Like I put it really close and he just threw all his tools, like his whole case, everything out the window on the ground. And I was like, all right, yeah. So that's over. That's done. And I was just like, that's the first time I did it. And
then now you look back at something like the movie Moneyball, where he teaches Brad Pitt teaches Jonah. He's like, you don't have to give all these explanations. He's like, you just say, hey, you're fired. Here's your thing. See ya. And then that's it.
I love that you use that because I use it all the time. Because now that you're with all these trades and you create this little environment on site for me, like each project, they can be crazy. Like the last one I finished was close to 20 million. And that's insanity, but you can have 80 guys on site on a day. And so you have this little camaraderie, it's like seeing your best friends in this little atmosphere. Right. And like, you get to control, like the energy's up to you to control. But yeah, it's really tough. And I think my boss said it to one of my guys is like, you can't have lunch with these guys. And the kid I was training, he's like, well, why? Why do you mean? And he's just like, because, and he's not wrong. I just never thought of it that way, but it's like Moneyball. Like you have to, my job in life is to keep grown adults accountable. So like, yes, all the good people that do their job, dude, we're like thick as thieves. Awesome. We're brothers. Yeah. It's the ones that fake it and I can see it. Then I have to then tell them what to do. That's when it can go from bad to worse to ugly. And it's because this is what they do for a profession. A career. Right. And I'm going, you're not, out of all the people here, you're the one that's holding this up. And that's tough to hear.
And when you're buddies, it's way worse.
You won't do it.
Yeah.
You'll start making excuses for that person. And then what happens is that accountability line goes to you. It's from them and you've let it go. You've towed the line for them. So now the hook's in you. And so now people above you or a client or whoever it is now pulling on you and it's hanging out of your lip. And you're like, whoa, how did I let that happen? And that can happen real quick. So it's, trust me, I've become best friends with a lot of guys, for doing this for 30 years. And I rinse and repeat. I have a lot of loyalty to a lot of people because it makes my life easier and it gives me the ability to expand my creativity with like, hanging up the bags. If we go back to firing that guy, I was with that crew for 7 years as a carpenter, hands on, then became a lead carpenter so I could fire people, so I could get that under my belt. And then after that,
just because you wanted to, nobody fucking signs up for that, by the way. That's what I'm saying. You're a psychopath for that. No, I avoid that at all costs. I pay salaries just so I don't have to do that.
No, that's psychotic. Okay.
No, that's not.
Avoidance.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely an issue. Like without fail, it's an issue for sure. Like, I just don't have that in me. I can't do confrontation. For me is the worst thing ever. Like, I'll melt into a hole in the ground before I fucking.
I go back and forth on it. I know we're jumping around, but if I don't own the business, I can be an absolute pit bull. But when I own the business, I am like a puppy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's so weird. It's
That's
so
why,
weird.
Like Bill and Brian and stuff. Like, they're like, oh yeah, I'll go talk to so and so, or I'll hire or fire so and so. And I think it's that mentality of like, they're the pit bull because they're being protective of like my thing.
Yep.
And like, but when it's me, like, someone will come in and I'm like, I got to talk to this person. They've been a fucking piece of shit and whatever. They'll come in and they'll sit on my couch and they'll start crying and be like, I have no money. I'm paycheck to paycheck. I don't have a car, whatever. I instantly go into like savior mode of like, what can I do to help this person? And I'm like, all right, well, let's do this. Or like, oh, I'll lend you money to buy a car or this thing or that thing. And then they leave my office and I'm like, the fuck did I just do? I was supposed to let this person go and I just bought him a car.
Yeah, straight up manipulation. Like they're phenomenal. They should do sales for you is what they should do. But no, I'm with you. It's the same thing. Like at a certain point, if we fast forward and I've had two of my own companies. So I've signed both sides of a check. And the second time around, which was the latest one, Vintage, which you've made my gear for almost like the last three companies. I was thinking about that today. And I'm like, we decided to start a cabinet company, Crafted. I don't even think we had shirts made for that one. That was how quick that one went. But there was one of our millwork guys that we used all the time. This guy, I'm not going to say his name. We'd always go into the shop and he'd always be like, dude, I want to start my own thing. And I'm like, yeah, cool, man. Good for you. You should start your own thing. And then at a certain point, he kept saying that, and the cabinet company he was working with kept falling down on our projects, meaning I'd get a laundry room built in, which, in construction, I need all my cabinets so I can do all my stone templates and I can do all my plumbing. It's critical path. You give me one room, it's almost irrelevant. Yes, I can finish that room off, but I'm not going to be able to do the kitchen. My plumber's not going to come back. You're not going to be able to bundle all these things and get it done. So one day I was pissed off at the guy he worked for. And I was like, we have enough work, because we went from like doing 3 million a year to 13 million a year. And that was crazy. And there's only 4 of us. So I was like, hey, I can keep giving this guy as much business as we have. And I can actually peel off like $2 million worth of millwork and just have you do that. So you can start your own thing. You can run it. Somehow this guy manipulated into me to go, hey, it'll be your company. I'll run it. So we gave this kid like $94,000 salary to run our cabinet shop. I found the place. We signed a lease, meaning Vintage. We covered all the expenses. He brought his equipment in and started the cabinet shop. And then fast forward, like we brought all the work in. This guy literally just had to make cabinetry. Like if you're like, your dream is to make cabinets, we just gave you a dream. You don't have to worry about any paperwork.
You don't have to worry about the clients. You don't have to do anything. You just make
nothing.
cabinets. Here
it is. Just hand it over. We put clipboards up on the wall. So here's your jobs. Boom. Keep you fed. And all you do is do your job, do your thing. And that's what he promised he'd do. And I'm like, all right, cool. So now here's the thing. Let's just paint that picture. This guy owns 90% of the equipment that's in the place for shop making. And then his job is to find the people to, one or two employees. Cool. All right. You find those people. So now these are his people, not my people. I'm not in the interviewing process. So all I have is the space I pay rent on. And so my office is there. So I was there every day and I bring the work in. So it's my clientele that are the ones that are trusting that this millwork's going to get done.
Right.
So I'm layering that on pretty heavy. And then this guy's like, yeah, we're going to do 4/10s instead of 5/8. I'm like, you're not even doing 5/8. You're doing like 5/6s right now for production value. And then he switches to 4/10s and we're getting like maybe 4/8s out of them. So they're taking long weeks and long weekends. And I'm like, all right, this is got to stop. I have no backbone here because it's all his equipment. And now I've made promises to all these clients for the millwork. I can't, cut it off and then go to somebody else. That there is materials there. We bought all the materials, all that's there. I can't then ship that over to my other cabinet guy and he makes it. Like, it's just not going to fly. So I'm now in bed with this process.
I think the thing with that though, too, is like, even now for me, like I don't know how it's been for you guys with the economy and everything else, but for our industry, it's been really down and flat and whatever for the past year. And then it's projected to be similar next year. But I feel like what happened to that guy is he had no fire and drive to do anything above and beyond because it wasn't his shit. Like he didn't have to be hungry. Like the thing is like, I'll do my best work when I'm hungry. When it's like,
Agreed.
oh, cool, like I have to get jobs in to make payroll, or I have to do this thing. That's when I find that I'm like the most creative, and I'm like, oh, cool, I'm going to build this process to get like X clients or whatever. And then I end up getting like really cool new clients, but it's because I'm hungry as hell. Like when I sit here and it's all comfy and I have emails coming in every day and I have jobs coming in, it's this weird thing. I think I've talked about it on here before, and it has to be some mental weird thing, but like I will fight for an order and I'll finally get it, and I'll get like the PO, and I'll get like, hey, this is what I want to do. I have no problem for some reason leaving that in my inbox and being like, oh, I'll get to that tomorrow, or I'll get to that tomorrow. It's because I have it already. It's done. Yeah. I don't have to fight for it. Like I know they want to use it. I know they want it. It's here. It's ready.
You like the chase.
Fucked. Right. Like I like the chase of getting it. And then when I have it, whatever. But then when you're like, cool, I have no money and I have to like pay bills and do this, you're willing to like stay up till 2 a.m. doing this project or putting that email together, or someone will email me at midnight and I'm like, cool, I'm going to set up the order, and I do it right then and there because what I want them to do is pay the invoice. And then I'm like, cool, like I'm good for another X amount of time or something. And it's like that guy, what it sounds like to me is like you took all of that drive out of him where he was like, cool, I got to do every day is show up and just make cabinets for John. Like I don't have to fight for work.
I honestly, I would love to believe that. I would 100% take the blame for it. I think it was more the fact that.
No, I don't think it's you issue at all. Yeah. I think it's just that he didn't have to go find business every day. And that wasn't the thing of like, guys, we got to work. We got to get this done. We got to do this thing.
I think in my eyes, after seeing it and learning it, I think this person was someone that wanted to find the path of least resistance. Mm-hmm. And whether at the other company, he was a cancer there, and they had 30, 40 employees. So you can basically water that down so you don't have the sting of it quite as much. But when you're in a 3-person crew, that's what I find a lot about our industry in construction. I'm sure it's the same as you, that it's not like a huge office building where people can just look at the internet all day and look at eBay and all that all day. Like if I don't do my stuff like all day, then it doesn't get done. And then I have to answer for it by the end of the week. Yeah, these products are massive. And so like there's very little meat on the bone for anybody. So like the impact, I remember for that, stay on that cabinet company, to get all the final checks, I ended up installing cabinets myself. So on top of everything else, paying all the bills, doing bonuses, all these things, to try and make that side businesses that in reality should have had a 60% margin on it for the cabinetry, made zero money for me and Vintage as a side business, zero for 2 years that it was in business, because I didn't have the nerve or the angle or the bandwidth. Let's just put it that way. Meaning I had enough going on that I was like, this is just another nightmare that I can't put enough time into to solve, but I should have nipped it in the ass when I went to 4 days a week instead of me. What my answer is to compensate. You know, my time is free in essence. I know it's taking away from my family, my health, my sleep, all these things, but in reality, I'm not billing anyone for it. So if I need to compensate, I can do more. I can work longer hours, and my stamina for that is pretty endless. So I needed somebody along the way, I guess, going all the way back to being a carpenter, and to sitting on that tailgate and going, hey, I should have been like, hey, what am I starting at? Is it starting at 12? Am I starting at $17 an hour? And then what skills do I need to acquire to make 20? So those conversations, if I take the solitaire cards all the way back, those never happened. So then I never asked. So like when it comes to my kids and it comes to the students that I see, I want them to understand their value and being comfortable talking about money. Back when we were the same age, like it was this thing that you don't really talk about. You don't see somebody and go, hey, how much do you make?
Yeah.
Like that was like an unheard of thing to do. But in the reality is there's definitely a different way of doing it. But if we forget about the cabinet company for a minute, we'll come back to that nightmare. But when I was a carpenter and being that lead carpenter and doing all those things and watching the guys that were teaching me through osmosis, the skills, dude, no one was getting raises. What they would do is go, hey, I went and interviewed with so-and-so. They're going to pay me $27 an hour. I'm making 25. So they'd go to my boss and go, hey, I'm going to leave for this. The beauty is I don't think they ever went on those interviews. I think it was their strategy to get an increase. This is a day in
right. Like, please don't leave. I'll give you $1 more.
But the raise was never going to come unless they had this ultimatum presented to the boss. The boss would ride you until the very end, until you left or you stayed for 18. I remember when I graduated college, I was like, dude, this is going to get my bump. I'm going to get a bump. I'm getting a bump. I got a degree. This is going to be crazy. I'm going to make a loot. I don't even cash my checks now. Like I'm set. This is me. I'm like, I'm going to go buy a house. And so I do all this. And then I remember I graduated college. Now I'm working full time, crushing. And then I turn to my boss. I'm like, so can I get a review? That was my way. I'm like, can I get a review? And he's like, yeah. And I remember I did my review and he's like, yeah, everyone's great. You're doing awesome. Keep it up, blah, blah. And I was like, so no bump? And he's like, no bump. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I remember
you're too nice. You're not the squeaky wheel.
I didn't know. I didn't know. And I still don't know, to be completely honest with you. I have a thing about understanding someone else should see my value before I have to ask for it.
I agree with that. I think I'm more of that as an owner. Like, and I try to tell people this in like a weird way of like, I see when you disrespect me. Like, I see when you do the things you're not supposed to be doing. Like, I see those. I might walk right by you. I might go to my office. I might do this, but I see these things happening and they are registering to me. Like, the more I see these things, the less and less I'm like, hey, I want to give that person more money. But like, I also see when people go above and beyond, or when people figure things out without bringing it to me, or they have the initiative to like do things that I didn't have to ask them to do. I also see those things. So when things are good here, they're the first person where I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you more money. Like, I don't do reviews where I'm like, I'm going to give you more money. I just go to the people after, when things are good and be like, hey, we can afford as a company to like give you more money. And like, I'm not doing it to everybody. I'm doing it to the people I see not taking advantage of me, or, whatever. They're doing the things they want to do. So I'm very based on like, this person wants to be here. They want a career here. They want to do these things, not just like, oh, well, I was here for 2025. I deserve a bump. And it's like
participation trophy versus someone that makes a difference.
That's not what's happening in my eyes. It's more like, oh, cool, you earned this, or you whatever. So I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, but
dude, it's working for you. You're mowing lawns for no reason.
It's true. That is true. I am doing that.
Yeah, you are doing that. So I think it is working. So I think you can take credit on that end. But yeah, I roll it all the way back to that, and then not getting that bump, and then going, all right, I'm going to keep working. And then I remembered one of my clients that we had done multiple projects for. He was an architect. We had done his headquarters over. And we had done a couple other houses for him, and then we were doing his house. We done his ballroom. I gotta find the photos of that, but I did a coffered ceiling, and I was like, dude, before social media, I'm like, you guys got nothing on me. I was doing it before the crazy cool schools. I was just crushing, and I did that ceiling, and then we did the kitchen. And this guy bought I think a Lowe's kitchen, and it was like the most expensive Lowe's kitchen, which isn't anything now. And he bought every accessory molding there was. So there was a stack of molding like 3 feet high. This guy, Scott Dunlap, he goes, make it look like furniture. That's all he gave us for direction. And so then I remember I cut toe kicks that were arched and all this stuff. So it was gorgeous, and stepped the moldings in, all these things. And we crushed it. So we did everything. We did the plumbing, electrical. We had done the framing, the addition, the whole 9 yards. And I remember my boss came in one day. He wasn't like doing work. He was just he'd always be the guy that buzzes around. And he buzzes in and he goes, this looks great. And we're on schedule, crushing, and he leaves. And then the client calls me. Okay. And, he goes, hey, I just want you to know that it looks really good. It looks so good that I'm paying your boss extra money, because he came here and goes, it's taking a lot more time and effort to do what you asked for. So he asked for like another $15,000. 15,000 I would never see. And to be honest with you, truth be told, I don't know what the schedule was. I don't know how the math works for me and my time and the guys. That's just all magic to me back then. And that was like this weird thing of like this, like I got to see both sides. You know, like there's a mirrored wall, and I was able to see inside of that mirrored wall, and the client's like, yeah, so we agreed on a price, but I'm paying him more because you guys crushed it. And I was like, whoa, like what? And I got nothing out of that. So then you then add that up to the no bump from college degree thing. And you're like, that was really when I sat back and I was like, what? Same conversation I had with myself about landscaping forever.
Right.
Is like, what am I doing? And you were so isolated, even take it back further to community. My bubble was these 5 guys. It's all for 7 years. It's all I knew, you know, and what I should have done is what I tell my son now who's in college is like, I should have leaned harder on some of the guys I met in college to understand what they're making, what they're doing, you know, to have that influence on me, not the influence that was directly next to me. I mean, left and right of me. Like what tool did they buy when they were my age? Like that was my influence, not like, all right, I should go make up some fake idea about getting a job offer to make something, whatever. I remember I left there at $18 an hour, worked there for 7 years, ran crews up. I ran up to like 8 guys and I thought I did a great job. And it's for all I know, I probably was, but for 7 years experience, I mean, it wasn't anything. Looking back now, I would laugh at that. But there's guys with 7 years experience in social media that call themselves builders and that are professional and phenomenal. And it blows my mind. Like I thought it would take decades to learn this craft, you know? And so then he ended up letting us go that Christmas. He's like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not going to run crews anymore. I'm just downsizing. And I was like, so what happens? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, so Monday, what do we do Monday?
He's like, I don't know. You fucking figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was like, so do I come in on Monday? He's like, no one comes in on Monday. And I was like, we had a bunch of stuff to wrap up. We were like one of those crews that would jump from like, we'd have like 4 or 5 projects running. Some might be a tile job, might be this. So whoever had to pay, you can kind of understand the system. Like you get to a certain milestone, then you bounce to the next one, blah, blah. And I remember I went to all these sites and I grabbed like my chop saw off one crew, like the guy with the kitchen. I grabbed my chop saw and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, Tommy's done, man. He's downsizing, blah, blah. And it was me and another guy, Dave. And he's just like, Scott's like, just stay. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, just stay, work here until you figure your stuff out. And I was like, that's awesome. We went to the next job to grab like my tile saw or whatever it was. And he's just, that client's like, stay. So I immediately started a company without trying. And no one told, I didn't know, like I should have gone and interviewed with somebody because like I had one job my entire life. So then I did that. I ended up running my own company for 7 years. Bags on, meaning for your listeners, like someone is wearing a tool bag with way too many tools on it, had like a 16-foot trailer with all my tools in it so I could go anywhere. And I went from doing like 1,200 square foot additions to ending at like a duplex that was 9,000 square feet. And the last house I built on my own like 19 years ago was like a 6,000 square foot house. And back then I would do everything from, if they framed, I'd hire a framer and I'd be the 11th framer on that crew. That was the only way to get respect at that age to try and save running stuff. So obviously stuff about plumbing, all that stuff, but I would side the house, put the windows in, had someone else roof it. I would do all the interior trim, all the interior tile. I'll do all the millwork, everything, hands on. So I did that until my wife got pregnant and she was like, get a real job. You're making no money. What are we doing? And I was just trying to make it work. I was, had the blinders on. I'm like, this is all I know, and didn't know my value either. So I was really just trying to create budgets and spreadsheets as you were going and tracking as much data as I could from my days of, accounting in college. It's like going through, elementary school and high school and no one ever telling you to balance a checkbook or why, we all want to be wealthy enough that we don't have to look at it. Right. That's the goal. And so then I did that. And then my wife's like, let's try something different. So I leaned on my college degree. So now I've been out of that for 8 years out of college. And then I decided to go do that. And, I went into, this is '08. I decided to go find a job at '08 and shut down my company. And it wasn't smooth. Like I remember back when I did the duplex, we had like a lumber yard give us a quote for the job. And I was like, this is a good quote. This is like a quote's like, it's like hard. Like they can't change it. Like this is what it cost. And I remember at the very end, they were like, yeah, it's an extra 30 grand. It costs an extra 30 grand of lumber to do it. And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? And I remember that job was a $1.2 million project for me. And that was like the biggest job I'd ever got. And I was like, 30 grand out of 1.2, that's a huge chunk. Like, what are you talking about? So to try and make that up, you then do all the side work. So you end up working more weekends to try and make that evaporate. And that was the only, again, going back to the only thing to make things work is to put more time and effort, your time and effort.
Yeah. It's always yours,
to do it, to offset it. So did that. I went and worked for a couple companies. One as project manager, ran a bunch of their jobs after that, which was great. It was learning. You know, I got a company truck, laptop, phone, which was like, oh my God, I'm again rich. Let's go. Right. So it was one of those things, but they just took advantage of your hard work. You know, I just ran it like it was my own thing. Clients loved you. And they were weird because they had like a bookkeeper that would do all the estimating in their office. And then you were on the ground and you were just told what were change orders. And you had to go present them to a client, which was good for me to learn, but it just felt wrong. Like you wrote an estimate and missed something. Now I have to go present this miss that the client has to pay for. Like I get to do someone else's screw ups, which is really tough. And at the very end of that, I was like a year in with them. I finished the job, one of the biggest jobs I was on, finished it 3 weeks early at a zero punch policy, meaning there's nothing left to do on the project when you're done. It's just like, you're done. Here you go, turn it over. And then we're out of here. Like they want to do it so you get your final paycheck and there's no like leftover money. And I remember the general manager was like, hey, we have one more change order. And I was literally walking into the building department to give get my occupancy. And she was like, yeah, it's like 7,000, whatever it was. And I was like, hey, you know, if you want that money, my job's done. I built the whole thing. I did a zero punch. I got my occupancy. At occupancy, I think I'm handing it over to you. So if you want that 7K, you can go ask. I had done 27 change orders for that company for that job. And I was like, I got fired 2 weeks later after I gave that pushback.
You spoke up. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I was just, and then I ended up working like crazy hours to try and make things work at that point. Cause I had 2 kids at that point and, you know, a house, all those things. I bought a house right out of college. And, so I was like, I called everybody. I did flooring jobs in the mall. Like they do peel and stick linoleum in the children's place in the malls. I did that at night when the malls closed. And then in the morning I'd get up and drive down the Cape and do cedar roofs to try and make ends meet until things could shake out.
At what point in all of this do you realize like you want to get out of your bubble? Because it seems like you've had like all this, you've had years and years at this point of like different projects and different tasks and different roles and all this other stuff and owning something yourself and working for somebody else and everything else. At what point do you branch out now and you're like, hey, I want to, like you guys, when I met you, it was like, oh, we're the modern craftsmen or whatever. But it was like, at what point do you become a modern craftsman of like, I'm going to get out of this bubble and start seeing what other people are doing and kind of elevate the game a little bit?
Well, that brings you to like 2010, 2011. And that's when after I started doing those other side things, I LinkedIn was like the thing. And people had blogs back then. So I worked for this company, Boston Green Building, and I was a director of operations. So I'd sell the jobs and help manage them. And that was a good sweet spot for me. And I would have I built my own office at the headquarters and I would do blogs. So every week I'd take photos and like, we'd have like, this is like going way back where you like stitch all the photos together and it give you this collage, all this stupid stuff that was happening. And I'd post it on LinkedIn, you know, every couple of weeks on my personal LinkedIn. And then I'd write a blog and I loved it. Like I loved it.
Like you were doing that more as like a passion project. Like
honestly, it was something, this is like clicks. This is back when like you get more clicks and SEO and all that stuff. So I was doing that for the company and LinkedIn was just like the only place you could post that people could see what you were doing. And I was like, this may not be my next final spot, you know, as a career where I was. So let me just keep so every time I went anywhere, like if I got appliances, I'd look up the appliance person and find them on LinkedIn, the owner. I would try. So that way people knew what I was doing and what I was actively. Yeah. Community. And then that brings me to how we met with Riverstone, and I was social media started. So I was commuting an hour and a half both ways. So it's right when Instagram started, and I was like, what am I doing? What is this? So I started taking photos at the same spot of these builds. So I was building like 3 or 4 houses at once for this guy. It was just me and him. He was the money guy. I was the guy on the ground building houses, and I'm building these houses and I'm taking photos and I'm driving an hour and a half home in traffic. So I just started posting them. Like some of the early photos have like no caption. It's just like a stupid filter, like an old Polaroid. I post that. Okay. So social media starts coming, and I'm no savant on social media or writing or any of that. I'm just trying to make do. And so I'm doing that for a while, for years. And I'm building, I think I built 5 houses a year for this guy for 5 years. And 2011 comes around, social media starts rolling through, and the little blurbs I'm writing are catching on. And didn't know if 500 people was cool, 5,000 to 40,000. And then people started messaging you back and asking you questions, and clients and architects all over the area. And then, Marvin Windows sent us out to their headquarters to go kind of walk around. They brought 10 other builders in one spot. And I was like, oh my God, it's like meeting Santa and like Smurfs. Like they do exist. Like what? Right. Like these people are amazing that we just got lucky and they put these people together, and you're just like, where have you been my whole life? Like, where have you been? Like, this is insanity. And I was working for somebody else, and I didn't hate it. I hated the atmosphere with that person, but I loved the client end of it and the construction end of it and that kind of camaraderie of the subs and all that part. And then you started talking to more and more people on social media, and there's this huge community that was growing of people that were like-minded and people that loved what they were doing and just couldn't get enough of it. And that grew like crazy. And then I ended up meeting Nick. Nick reached out and was like, hey, what are you doing? Blah, blah. And we started meeting up to talk about how I should leave my current employer because it just wasn't a great environment. And he was talking about certain clients and how he wanted to grow and all these things. And I had the experience. So we meshed really well because he was hungry and, had more of the social media presence and figured it out. And we just always brainstorm stuff. And then people would reach out to us on social and go, what are you guys talking about? Can we be involved? We're like, no, we can't be like, we're not going to like, people want us to like go live. Remember back in the day and just people could follow along with our conversation. We're like, no. And then one day we're like, let's just do a meetup. We're going to go to a bar, have a drink and talk shit about our current situations and do that. And then 40 something people showed up to the bar that day that we were like, we're going to be here if you want to come by. And I remember we had to split the tab that night because we were like, we have no idea what we're doing. And so we did that. And then companies started sponsoring these meetups that we were just like, what is happening? And then we got hired in New Jersey by Kukin Brothers to come out and do one of those talks. And they called it the Modern Craftsman because they had a Modern Craftsman molding line that was moldings. And it didn't even click then, to be honest with you. That's when I first met Tyler at a TRG out of New Jersey. And we did this public speaking gig and it like sold out. And back then it was like 300 people. And we're just like, oh my God. I remember I had them turn the AC to like 30 degrees and it was, so I wouldn't sweat through my shirt because I was so nervous.
It's the worst.
It is. It still is. Even like I'm doing one this week
for sure.
And it's in front of students. I have 100 students at 8:30 and 100 students at 10. And I'm already nervous about it. Yeah. But I think that's good. I think that's why we do it. If it wasn't anything, then we wouldn't keep doing it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So we did the whole talk and the talk was amazing. It was awesome. And then that whole group, like I said, when we went to Marvin, that was like 10 people that were like the same people as you that you could commiserate with. You could learn from them. You could have conversations and they'd pick up where you left off or finish your sentence. Now you take that group and multiply it by 300 people and put them all in the same room. And that was just like, oh my goodness. And that became this whole vibe. And then,
well, the thing was too, is like during all of this, like when we first met, I've always kind of had this like thing too of like I like building in this old house and like all this other stuff. So like when I met you, it was because I was interested in kind of your posts and what you were doing and everything else too. And then I also followed a bunch of other people that were kind of doing similar things. And it's not my world, but I was like a fly on the wall on social media where I was like, oh, I can watch these people and see what they're doing and all this other stuff. And then, yeah, you guys got together and involved and were doing this speaking and everything else. And again, like I would watch some of that stuff and just kind of see what was going on. But it's kind of cool too, because like in our industry, I feel like these people come together again. Like I could stay here, I could test screen printing things and whatever else. But like if I can go out and be with my peers in my industry of all people trying to do the same thing as me, we learn so much faster because we're all sharing ideas that we were all like, oh, well, I had this issue. And it's like, oh, well, I solved that 10 years ago. This is what I did. Or here's my connection that got me the price for this difference and all these other things. Like you instantly get all this knowledge like right away. And it's like a rush of like, oh shit, cool. But the thing is that was kind of like, my question is like, and I know I respect you. Let's say this without fucking blowing your ego up, but like, I respect you more for your authenticity and kind of how you've done things and then dropped off and then came back and spoke about how like you're in it for the craft, not necessarily for being like, let's just hurry up and get this done. And it's whatever, it's a job. I'll move on to the next. Like you're like, no, I want this to be done and I want it to be done right. And I want it to be done where it shows the craft of what it is you're into. It's the same with me in printing. Like I want what I'm doing to be important. And like, I want to be known for doing like really good work, not just like, oh, we just printed some shirts and handed them out and it's done and over with. So I think like you doing the modern craftsman thing was really cool because it opened up a lot of people to see like, oh, I could do this too. Or like craft is really important to me too, not just like getting the job done. So I think when we were talking earlier about like raising all ships kind of things, it's like, I think what it's doing too is it's making people appreciate what they do or put passion into what they do instead of just being like, oh, I'm just going to go build this lady a deck. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, I learned on social that I can do this and I can use these products and I can whatever. And I can be proud of the deck that I built. Not that I built a deck and now I have a little bit more in my checking account than I did at the end of it.
Well, it also, that community gave you the ability to share tips. And if one of the things that you said early on that really, it still resonates with me today is that we would say, hey, if I had a tip that could, like I was always open book. So if it was subs, if it was vendors, if it was whatever I knew that I had to, and so are you on this podcast. I've listened to your podcast and open book. But like if that could shave off people's time, like let's say, you are building that deck, but if there's a strategy to get there and how to order lumber, and if you can lock in lumber and you pay before the 10th of every month and you get 3% off your bill, that's money in your pocket. So now I'm giving you ability to get the job done quicker and to make a little bit more money. So that way you can be home for your daughter's soccer game and buy her new soccer ball so she can kick around. You get me? Like you can be present because you're able to make more money. That was something that was unheard of to me. And I think the question you asked me was like, how did you break out? It's like, no, what I found that I had value in the community. And this is going way back to being on that tailgate where I never knew what the value was. I just kept searching for it and I expected someone to give it to me. And when people kept asking questions over and over again, and I just kept answering them and we kept answering it on the podcast. And so we'll get to the podcast, but DMs were like crazy how much you do it. And then that, whatever you got a group of questions, whatever it was, then you create a post. The next post was based on the questions and you're just trying to give it back to the industry that, I've had my hiccups and I've had my ups and downs, but it's never felt like work, and that's what I love about it. So I've also known how starting a business and being in a business can be super alone, where when you're like trying to make do and you have a client that doesn't pay you, and then you have to then call a sub that you promised that check to on Friday and the client didn't pay you and you have to make that call to them going, hey, I'm going to get it to you Monday. That call to that trade when they were banking on it because of your word is a very, very difficult conversation to have. So then you do enough of those that it makes you have a harder conversation with that client and go, tell me why you're not paying me. Because you want this system, the process to be, reciprocated, meaning I gave you a great product. Why don't you see it being great? Tell me why. and why I shouldn't get paid in full. And I have to wait for you to move money around from your savings account to checking account when you knew the invoice was due today. I'm not going to have that conversation because it should be fucking obvious to you. Like, I am here every day. You pay me. That's my livelihood. That isn't crazy math. That's not a crazy scenario. Like, this is how it works. And then people will maybe are better at seeing how, or better at manipulating or whatever it is. Like, I still drive by this fucking house in Walpole where I did this 2-car garage. I'm always like, oh, it's still standing. That's cool. And it was like my first edition. But they had me add tile from the mudroom that we added on into the kitchen. And I did that tile on the weekend because they were having a birthday party. They never paid me the $1,250. That was like fucking 20 years ago. And I almost have pulled into that driveway and be like, yo, what? Her name is Sherry. Why didn't you pay me? It literally still pisses me off today.
Yeah.
And
it will forever.
Yeah. And it will. But like, if I could give you, like, so what I tell people is like, when it's me, like we were talking about us owning a business and it's me and I'm like, oh, we'll fix that grout line. Don't worry about the invoice. Some of that's me doing it. Like, don't worry about it. But that one was strictly, I did it, crushed it, did it in timing for you to make it happen. Then you didn't pay me at the end. And I was just like, I had to move on to the next one to get paid. Like, right. I'm going to go to where I get paid next. But what I tell people now is like, make it bigger than you. Like, let's say you don't have a bookkeeper. No one needs to fucking know that. Just make an email. It's cheap on Google and it's Sherry at, Shirt Show. Mm-hmm. Sherry doesn't exist. To have Sherry send me invoices. Mm-hmm. So then you can go to work and go, hey, Sherry's all over me. I need to get that's payroll. She's all over me about this. Yes, it's manipulation, but it's how I feel comfortable not begging for money. It's in a different direction. So it's not like, yeah, this is my livelihood. It's because you have to realize the people that are doing it to you, realizing they're doing it on purpose. And it's a real bummer because then there's a game of leverage. And if you're too much focused on the craft and not about being aligned with payments, like I've been screwed up on, then you find yourself being ahead of them, meaning there's more work that's been done than they've paid for. And that's not the right way to do it.
That brings me to my next point though, too, is like, at what point do you, like, how do you scale the business, but also keep the craft as well? Because like you kind of just explained it too, is like, I want to have the craft, but also I need to get paid when I need to get paid. So like, how do you,
I think it's two things. You need to figure out the volume on which is something I always struggled at. And I think it's a lot of like, if I take it back to when I was a carpenter, we do 4 or 5 projects. So I was programmed very early to do a bunch of projects and juggle that. And then when I worked, let's fast forward to when I worked for Riverstone, we were doing 5 houses at a time. And I built this guy 2 houses. So like you're mowing lawns on the weekend in a house that you don't even stay at. I was building him houses. So yes, that formula worked. So when I decided to start my own business again, which was a little bit of ego, a little bit of like, well, everyone's taking advice from me, so I must be able to do this time around. There was a little of that. And I was just going to rinse and repeat that formula. Take on 5 projects, did a whole write-up of like what my burn rate would be, what my profit would be. So I did all those things. I think I posted that on my website for the new podcast. Like my burn rate, I thought I'd get my salary. Like 140 was the goal. And then I was going to have, between Ben and myself, we both had our salaries, and then we're going to have 520 to split if we did 4 products for a year. That was our goal. And then we all split that and so that was healthy. That was comfortable. That was something that was a goal. So then the backtrack into that for the product, this is what I'm chasing, this is the amount of money I need to make to keep my livelihood. And then the bonus is like, all right, this is why you work so hard. So then it was like, you had all these formulas that I had started when I had my own gig the first time, spreadsheets on what these balances were for like what I should spend for millwork, what I can do for this, for spec houses, for customs. And I just tracked those down and it was trying to squeeze. Squeeze is a tough word because people are like, oh, you're squeezing more than you need. But you have people that come to work every day that they may not take pride in what they do. They're just doing 9 to 5, like the guy laying floors. But then they meet me and I go, hey, I have all the grills already here. So you don't have to worry about those. Hardwood flooring's been sitting. It's all the right moisture. This is going to look amazing. And you show them pictures of the finished house that you're going for. Now they're committed to something beautiful that they know about, not just setting X amount of square footage on the flooring. So then I have the ability to then turn to them because I've set the tone of what we're trying to get done, paint this overall picture. And then I turn to them and go, hey, so I got this stupid rule. I call it the boot rule, where you put your heel. So if you're in your house and you have hardwood flooring and you have a butt end of a hardwood floor, you take your heel and you put it on that seam. You have the short seam, and then you spin your foot all the way around. It shouldn't touch another joint. And it's called the boot rule. And my old boss, the 62-year-old guy that let us go before Christmas, he taught me that.
I love how that's the thing that always is going to be the tag at the end of his name. The guy who let us go before Christmas.
Dude, what happens Monday again? Do I come in? So no bonus? Okay, cool. Because I remember we were having conversations like, do we have bonuses? Okay. So the boot rule. So then you got someone so everyone usually does a ladder where you set up a bunch of flooring and the seams and they're like 6 inches apart. Once you see this pattern, you'll never unsee it. Okay. When you go into like a mall or you look at a gym floor, you'll see it, the way that they lay the flooring, it's only a step pattern. So like I could pretend to lay on the floor and walk up a set of stairs, which is all the seams. But if you do this boot rule, it makes you do a staggered pattern where you can't see it. And the actual flooring looks better because the seams are all broken out. And it's one of the things that it's hard to do when you get wider floors because you get shorter lengths. But ideally, your guys are thinking about in wide open spaces like behind the kitchen island, on family rooms where there's no carpet, walkways, you're using your best lengths so you have less seams. But if you're in a closet and stuff like that, you're putting stuff where you want. So my point is, to answer your question, it's years of experience to figure out where you want to put your effort into it and focus with somebody. And if I just let the guy go, then I get to deal with the repercussions of that flooring being however they felt that day. If they're getting divorced, someone's sick, their parents died the week before, they got in a car accident, they don't have to pay their insurance. Guess what? Laying that floor is the last thing on that list, but it's the most important thing to me. Right. And that's how I look at it. And so that's how I focus on each part of the build. I look at what are the most important things that I want to see and what things that I can't stand looking at, and how do I get ahead of that and kind of relay that to them. Then circle back if need be to make sure it's getting done, or actually, if I have to, start laying flooring to show them that it is possible. I'm not crazy, and I will do that, and not in like a condescending way. And be like, give me 1 second.
That's what I was going to say though, too, is like, how do you enforce that though, too? Because all of us as shop owners are like, yeah, I want to be the best. I want to have the best quality. And then we go and say, hey, I want to use these inks, or I want the pressures to be this on press, or I want this or whatever. And then we go back to our office and go do the things that we have to do. We do our job, but then it's up to them to be like, all right, well, I'm either going to adopt what he said, or I'm just going to do it the way I've always done it, or how I feel like doing it today. Or like you said, if I broke up with my girlfriend, or I slept in, or I did this or whatever, like, are you hovering over them to make sure those things are done? Or you're just like, nah, dude, like this needs to be this, or you're going to have to go let them go.
That's really tough because it's none of those. And like you're saying those, and I want to check off a box after you say it, like, oh, this is it. There's no ultimatums. It's really, I look at it like, and this is stupid. It's really, I look at it like this is the one time that they're going to be valued. I'm valuing them. So I need to get them on board with my energy and my commitment to it. And that's hard to do. There's a lot of people that look at me like, what the fuck? And because some of these people are only there for a couple times. Like they're only there for a short window, like painters. Like when I'm like rubbing my hands all over walls and they're like, this dude's psychotic. It's like, but you also show them appreciation. Like the last time, the flooring guys at the job I'm on right now, I walked into that kitchen and I go, hey guys, I love what you're doing. It looks great. But I got this crazy thing. It's this boot rule. And dude, I'm watching them sit in that break going like, dude, like, do we pretend that we don't speak English? That's what they're going to do. Yeah. And, no hablo inglés. And so I'm like, all right, so this is the thing I got. And part of it is, how you deliver? Do you go, hey, you got to do it this way or you're out of here? Like, dude, like, if I wanted, I wouldn't have had them on the job if I didn't think that they were the cream of the crop.
The thing is, I feel like when you do stuff like that, they just spite you at that point. Like it's like the
Agreed.
human part of them where they're like, you know what, we'll do it his way, but I'm going to draw dicks on everything. Or I'm going to like not glue this, or I'm not going to do this just to spite him. So there's a fuck you in there somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So then I circle back and I like my desk, like to paint a big picture, like my desk is usually in the building on the first floor. So like it's up to me to get up and walk around. Like I can go sit down and answer emails, or I can literally go like, all right, they probably shot off 2 more areas. Did they follow along enough? And then here's the thing. Here's the kicker is that you walk in, you have to recognize it got done. You can't not ever go in that room again or go in at the end of the day and go, fuck. And go, they didn't do it. I go in and go, dude, you guys are with me, right? This looks better, right? Tell me, Come on, give me some of this love because you guys can now steal this and use it on the next job and then you can get paid more. Are we on the same team now? So like I go in like that and I go,
so you have to go in high fives ablazing.
Fuck yeah. Hugging it out. Like, come here, hug it. Come here. Give me a hug. Like that kind of attitude, which I get it isn't normal, but this is my life. This is my job. And I do think in the crazy scheme of things that having that energy brought into a project and kept there amongst everybody, that people can literally feel that energy when they move in. Like that kind of good energy. If you're an asshole building stuff, firing guys, not paying them, dude, I think that's there too. And I think that's how people make memories in that place. And
that shows the quality though too of the person. You know, it shows what they care about and what they don't care about. Like they care about a paycheck, not about the project. And
well, here's the thing: I think everyone does. That's a necessary evil. But if I'm like, this is going back to that squeeze comment.
I mean, I care about the paycheck, but I also care about that I made that.
But some people, that's all. Again, that might be it for them. This is 9 to 5. They're punching in. So like when it comes to like a mantle, and it's on a drawing and I supply all the materials there and this guy's coming in and he's going to do 9 to 5. Like he's like, it's just another fucking day. Like I'm going to go home and the bottle. I'm going to, smoke a cigarette in the ride home, whatever it might be. You get me? That's just how it's going to be. I go, hey, this is everything. This is the drawings. These are the stop points, meaning you can't really, we can't change, but everything else in between that, I want you to be an artist today. I want you to do why you got in this business. I want that 17-year-old kid that just learned how to use the chop saw and wanted to create everything. And every molding is creating a stack effect that's giving you shadows. That is the reason why people like to look at it. I want that person doing this mantle. That's the conversation I have with someone who's 65 years old, who has more experience than me. But I also know that this is probably like, what the fuck? You know how many times I hear from people? Dude, you just lit a fire under my ass. Like this is, I like what I'm doing because of this. And that's why I show up.
It's funny that you say that too, because I think for me, that's the biggest takeaway of my experiences up until now for doing this for like 20 years is we can all come in here and we can print t-shirts. And I always say like, oh, the issues we have had nothing to do with printing t-shirts. But what I'm finding out, and Bill does this really, really well, where he even tells me, like 60 to 70% of his job is just being a good hype man. Like, it's not about printing t-shirts or pressures or what's in stock or what's this or what's that or, setting up a press. It's literally setting the right playlist when he walks into the shop, or like high-fiving somebody or asking them about their day or hearing them out or whatever. Because once those things are done, everything else just falls into place. Like they're like, oh, I'm amped to get this done, or I'm curious about the quality because, someone might print something on press that comes at the end of the dryer and he looks at it. He's like, dude, you did a fucking fantastic job at this. Like the white looks great. The registration's good. Like this is better than I thought it was going to be. Then that dude cares about the next job that comes off the press because he wants Bill to come over again and be like, give me a hug. Like all the jobs today look great. Yeah. I feel like that's most of the job.
If you consistently do that, that's when you get the right people around you, because beyond the money, like I know you have employees, but for me, it's like certain guys have certain crews that might come to me, like the roofers, like we just did a huge slate roof and the roofers are there. And every day I'm like, dude, you guys want water? You want anything? You killing it? Like, I can't believe how hot it is up there, blah, blah. Then when I fly the drone to check on the roof, at one point after like probably 3/4 of the way the job goes through, dude, they hear the drone. And then they yell down, picture, picture. So they're all on the roof, like giving like these like looks to the camera. So that way they can be part of it. You get me? Like, dude, they've been doing roofs in July and it's the worst thing ever. And they're still finding like this. You get me? It's contagious.
They're finding the smile and the drive to do it.
Yeah, man. It's because it's every day. I'm like, look at you. Like we did a metal roof in the last house. And I remember every day I walked out and like they got 3 up. I go, you gotta get three panels. So then like an hour later I walk out and I kind of go, we're at 27 panels in the barn. So then like, and then like at lunchtime, everyone's waiting for me to come out to yell 34 panels. You get me?
Right.
Everyone that's the site guys, the roofers, the painters, everybody that's outside. And now we're all cheering for how many panels the roofers got up. You know, I'm telling you, if you can create this little miniature community, you find that, yes, it's about making money, but if you can create a space where people have fun and make money, like I find that to make it the serious part of it, yes, I'm being critical about certain aspects of what I want for quality and how it comes out. And I'm doing it in a way that's shaped with this motivation of this overall goal, where I'm not just saying get this done today. I'm showing them a rendering of that kitchen and why this is important. What's coming after them is it gets stacked. Like if you build something beautiful, if you bake a shitty base cake, doesn't matter how good it looks, it's going to fall apart. And I think if you put it all together and they get to see that, most of the time people do elements of different parts of this build and they never get to see why they're doing it, you know, or what it is. Like even when I go to the building department, I talk to the ladies at the building department and I'm like, you got to see this. This is awesome. And like I spent $94,000 on a building permit for my last job and then another $45,000 on the barn permit. And then they're like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, there's a bowling alley. You got to come through. Dude, the ladies from the building department came down like 2 Christmases ago after their like dinner with the whole office. And they came down and did a tour of the property. It's contagious. They've never come out of the building department for anybody. They collect payments. They collect things and they say you can or can't not get an inspection. I wanted them to come down and see what they do, why we spent this money, why they see so much of me, and why else are we doing it? I think in life we chase a purpose, and it changes because we're single and we're little, and then we get married, we get to have a relationship, and you think that's love, and then you find you have kids, and then you really find out what love is, and then you find a whole new purpose behind it, and what is it that you can leave behind? And I'm telling you right now, I couldn't leave behind TPS reports. I wouldn't even know how to brag about it. I did 17 TPS reports. I added a comma in my bank account. I could never go home and tell my kids that. It makes zero sense to me. And maybe I should have been that guy. But to me, it's like
what you can do is you can be that dad who drives around the neighborhood and is like, I built that house. Yeah. I did that thing.
No, I bring them and they get to see it. Like we have one client we did the barn for with the bowling lane, and I bring him and his buddies and get to use the bowling lane, because you become friends with these clients because you get to know them in an intimate way, and you're building their secrets that they've always wanted, that they let almost no one know. And I'm spending all their money, like on their biggest resource, which is something they're going to make memories in. So I take it very serious. So that when I do get burned and when I've had my own business and I've let things slip, that's why it hurts so much more, is because you leave everything out in the field and then you expect to get paid, and then you have to fight people. My appetite for construction, I do wish I was building the decks, like you said before, like, I'm putting a deck up. The amount of risk reward there, yes, not a huge amount of reward. It's still there, but my risk for decking and framing and footings is minimal. When I decide to do, $10 million project in 10 months, that's crazy. And if I don't have all my things together, like we had a client that took me for close to $700,000 or more, and that absolutely wiped me out. That's what killed Vintage. That's why Vintage evaporated, and I evaporated from social, because I was like, going back to 2010, I found value with people asking questions and them getting their answers. And then I screw up in my life and I can't get everything together, and I don't have money for like Christmas gifts and all that stuff. Who am I to give out advice when I can't figure it out myself?
Dude, this episode so far have leaded into every single one of my bullet points. Like literally my next bullet point is like, reflecting on things, and like, you have this extreme optimism that we just went over as far as like craftsmanship and all these other things, and getting people to do the job and care about what it is they're doing, and then the money will come because of the craftsmanship and all this other stuff. But at some point, that person who has that extreme optimism or whatever behind the scenes or whatever, eventually something happens, or they get burnt out or something. Like, how you've been through that, like we've kind of talked about it before, but like, how do you get through that, or how do you avoid that, and then how do you kind of bounce back?
I think it's really, it is really hard for me because I do love what I do. So making it a business and making it a business first, we could always joke and be like, oh dude, that's going to be a great project. That's me. And then you try and be like this, like it's like holding like a face up, and you flip it around and like, what would the business person in me say? Like, that's an awful project. Like, the risk reward is nothing. Should have charged more, blah, blah. And yeah, there should have been, like when I was doing big projects, and it's weird because it's my sense of everything is manipulated a little bit. When you have 40 people on site that are trusting you, like they're there, they're not asking for deposits. They're not having contracts signed because they trust you as an individual, as a person, because of who you are and what you've done over the last decade. Okay. So then it's a slippery slope, because I'm not saying, hey, we're running and gunning to try. I was always lean. Like, the company I'm with now is like 41 people deep. Everyone has a fucking role, and I love it. I just get to create, and I joke because my boss has to put a value on me, and I just do my thing. Regardless, I get paid my salary, and I'm loving it. I don't have to worry about numbers, anything. Make people happy and get production done. That's my job. But when I was doing it, I found it very, very hard to not see the fact that I had so many livelihoods in the balance, meaning each job I'm doing, and I have 40 people there, and I'm like, all right. So then when a client didn't pay me $340K, I didn't want to have to stop that job, and basically knew the sequence of things would be, if I stop that job, then they're going to sue me, and then no one gets paid, and I'm out $350. Okay. That's how I looked at it. So I turned around and got a credit line for $150,000 for the company to basically feed all those, bird mouths in the nest that are squawking for money. I should have stopped the project, and I should have had every one of those subs lean the property to make it a bigger fish. Instead of being like a little goldfish, I could have been a shark with a group of people fighting for the money we owed us. And then instead of it being me fighting for it. So I got a credit line, and I gave this guy, I enabled him. And this is what I do. A lot of what I do is I enable. I'm like, oh, like that guy with the cabinet shop. I enabled him. I didn't nip it in the ass when it went from 5 days to 4 days. I'm like, yeah, I got it. And so it's really hard for me to find boundaries on everything, because maybe it's optimism, and I go down that road and I chase it because I want it to be true. And it's happened. It's come true so many times that I'm like, if I just put a little bit more effort into optimism and making it happen, it'll work. But that client turned around, and they were always 30 days late. I created an offset for that so people could keep going. And I ended up putting more people in jeopardy, including myself. So the number ended up being $700,000 on one job. And I finished it because the rules and laws in Massachusetts, you have to finish XYZ. Otherwise, you put yourself in a spot where you didn't finish it in a workmanlike manner, all these things. So I thought it'd be easier for me to get paid if I finished it. That's how I looked at it. And that's how my attorneys looked at it and all these things. And after 2.5 years of fighting for it, I got pennies on the dollar on what I was owed, and it didn't put a dent in anything. And I still might have to claim bankruptcy, how it all shakes out. So when it comes to optimism, when I evaporated from social media, left the podcast, all these things, it was because I had nothing left. I've never been in a dark spot like that in my entire life. I actually had to look up what, like just all those things that come along with, like, when you just can't figure out, you're in a fog and you can't find the light. Like, it was hard for me to wake up in the morning. I couldn't sleep at night. And it was like it was a spot that I had never been in before, and I didn't know how to get out of it. And again, going back to like having community, dude, when you're going through something like that, people look at you like you have a virus. So no one wants to catch it. So no one wants to be there for you. No one wants to know the ins and outs of it. Everyone just wants to just get as far away from you as possible so that they don't catch it. And it's like, so you have my back when I'm giving you all the advice in the world. But then when I need advice, no one's there. And it's really hard to reach out at the same time to be honest with someone and go, hey, I'm struggling with this. And the only people you talk to are your attorneys. And they don't give you a lot of help either. Just like, I'm going to bill you $500 an hour for that. And they're saying like, yeah, they're optimistic and saying you'll win. But until it comes down to, they're not able to get paid either because you haven't had a settlement. So then you're last on the list for everybody. So, I go about my career as if I bring enough information, knowledge, and have everything set up in the most efficient way possible, I have people that owe me. I make them money because I'm more structured and dialed in so that way they get to create. Otherwise, if they come for 9 to 5, they're going to do 9 to 5. But if I create this opening of like everything laid out, everything good to go, they're going to save some time and they're going to be able to use that to punch it up a little bit. Is my goal. But at that point in my career, I had nothing, no favors, nothing. I only owed people. And that was, you take your entire identity, you've done it your whole life, and then you take it and throw it upside down and smash it like an empty Coke can. It was really hard. Like I was going to leave the industry. I was going to go sell insurance. I wanted something that wasn't connected to my passion.
You never would have fucking sold insurance.
I would have fucking crushed if it was quota related. I could have looked at that as a competition. I could have sold lumber. I don't know what it would have been, but here's a funny thing is, what do you say to like my son?
Yeah. And
going to college and all these things. And how do I shape that for him? And it's like, I point blank I go, don't chase your passion. This sounds crazy as I'm saying it. Don't chase your passion. Go after what's going to make you a shitload of money right now and do that for 10 years and then bank that and then give you a little bit of cushion to then be able to then play. Mm-hmm. Like, cause I went right at it, dude. Had kids super early. So the risk window for me was so minor, so small. Everything I did, every decision I made was based on having a livelihood to support a family, in Massachusetts. But if you look at people now where it's like, oh yeah, I bought this house where I leveraged this and I didn't have a family. If I lost the house, I lost the house. I claimed bankruptcy. I'm back to normal in 3-5 years, Now it's like, no, I got college to pay for. Like that was my biggest worry out of this whole thing was, does this affect my kid applying for college? And so now it's like, you're going to have time to chase your passion. It's so weird when we were younger. It's like 40 felt like it was over. And now I'm like 46 and I'm trying to be as young as possible and, being healthy and all that. And because I was at a point where I gave up, I joke about it in a way where it's like, I knew the train schedule, like just knew like this would be, I was looking for a way out instead of looking for how to fight my way out. And that was the hardest part for me, for being optimistic and being the guy that brings the energy and brings like, I end up getting, I don't know if you can see it. I got that tattoo, which is, it's a whiskey glass with a skull in it, which is the ice cube, and it's half full. That's how I look at it, not half empty. But I put that on my arm, So
depends on what way your arm is.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, if you're optimistic or not, but that was the hardest part, I think, about that whole thing and trying to understand what steps to take to get out of that. Like finding a job that was going to pay me was one first, and then to not overpromise, because I felt like I did a lot of that as an optimistic person, and so like to go interview with companies and
to make you not feel alone in this too is like I kind of had not the same story but similar. It's just like I did everything. I checked all the boxes. I lived the life of like, okay, I did high school and then I found this path that I was on. I was an accident. I did everything for, 18 years or whatever it was. And everything was kind of on autopilot. Like I was doing the things, I checked all the boxes. And then whatever it is now, 3-4 years ago, my life kind of got to a point where it like flipped upside down, where I got a divorce, and then I was like ultra depressed for like a year and a half. And I was, trying to figure out life and my shop and all these other things. And like, granted, the shop was doing its thing. It was on autopilot, but I kind of lost some, drive because like all the projects were done, all the boxes were checked, like the building was done, the equipment was bought, the staff was here. And then something like COVID happened. And then as a business owner, you're like, what the fuck am I going to do? What's happening? It shakes up everything. Autopilot is shut off and you're kind of at the wheel trying to figure it all out. And then kind of now, like I said, with the economy and everything else, it's like our industry is kind of like, I don't know what's what. Like every shop owner I talk to at this point is like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone next week, next month, next whatever. Like we're all okay. We're fine. But like if you didn't have your shit together, things are way worse for some people right now. That's where I feel fortunate is like I own the building. I own all the equipment. Like really my overhead is my staff and whatever. So like I'm good there, but still as a human being, like my world got rocked, you know what I mean? Between like my personal life and the shop and everything else. So I'm in this stage now of like rebuilding everything, like my personal life, my business, me and one of my best friends who works here too had a conversation today of just like, for years and years, we used to do this life where we came to the shop and it was like, oh, you guys want to fucking play video games after work today? And it was like, none of us had plans. We were just like, fuck yeah, let's play games. Let's order pizzas. Let's do whatever we're going to do. And we were just talking about how maybe we've gotten together to play games like 10 times all year. And it was like, cause so we all have kids, we have a life, we have travel, we have to do this and that and the other thing. And it's like, life's way different now at like 40 years old, where it's like, what am I going to do for the next 40 is I guess the question. Like it's the whatever. And I heard somebody, I try really hard to stay away from like motivational quotes and shit on the internet because a lot of them like cringe me out. But one thing I heard was just like the first 40 years is practice. Like it's the warm up. And then like after 40, it's like what you really have found yourself and you know what you want to do. Because I think that's true to a degree too, is like we had 40 years to kind of fall on our faces and get really high highs and low lows and all of these things and figure all this shit out. And then about by the time we're halfway through our life at like 40 years old, we're kind of like, okay, cool. I've done all those things and know what to do and what not to do. Now's the time that I'm going to whatever. So, and I just put this out in a newsletter that came out on Sunday where I kind of was saying what I was thankful for Thanksgiving, because I feel like a lot of this year, especially on the podcast, I've kind of been a bit of a downer, which I'm really trying not to be. Like I'm trying hard not to be. Like
so you brought me in. I get it. Every
episode, I knew you were a hype man, so I knew we're on the way up right now. So I really kind of took a step back in this week with Thanksgiving, and I was kind of like, I do own my own building. I own my own equipment. I work with my best friends. I have 2 awesome kids. I have a life and a girlfriend and things where I can kind of travel and do whatever. And I have this podcast and I have this like community that I've built with all of this stuff. And it's kind of like, why am I bitching? Like,
it's
I have all of these things, but also too, it's like, I have the tools and I have the resources. I have the people to kind of be like, shake this off and be like, you know what? Fuck it. Like if stuff's weird right now, it just gives me the opportunity to do something different. Still with my business and whatever, but I can shake things up and just like be like, so what? I can't do things the exact same way I've done them for the last 20 years. Like, let me just find the new way to do these things. Now I can do buttons.
You can do buttons. You can do that with the kids. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I pay attention.
I see that.
I think it's tough to figure that out. And I think
well, it's kind of what you're doing too. Like you kind of got kicked in the teeth a little bit and now you're coming back.
But it's funny. I didn't even want to. I didn't think I'd ever come back to this. To be completely honest,
well, I'm glad you did. Like, you didn't sell insurance because you'd be a lot less interesting if you were selling insurance.
I know, but I might be mowing a lawn at a lake house.
That's cool, dude. I hate that. I promise you, it's fun.
I don't disagree with you. I have. It's what's funny is I think when we were in our 20s, we set goals. I don't know if you did, but I did. Like to set these random goals of like, hey, I would like to have a nice house. And like, for me, it's like having a 2-car garage or a 3-car garage I can pull my truck into, especially in New England, is like my goal. And long term, I'd love to get an early Bronco, like a 67 early Bronco. And that's when I know I can just cruise. Like, I don't want to go fast. I just want to have the top off, doors off, and just cruise. And that is symbolic to me because that means I don't have to worry about working weekends or hitting deadlines or all these things that manipulate my time and my energy. This is now my time. And the Bronco means that I've done my kitchen. I've done my bathrooms. I've done all these things. And I still live in an old house that I haven't fixed up yet. And that's a real rub for me. The amount of effort and work and determination I've put into a career that I, air quotes, love, and that's given me so much, it hasn't given me the ability to have the same reflection in my own home that what I give to clients. And that's whether it's appetite, that my appetite for what I do and my talent has reached beyond my means. I get that. But I should have had a point in time where my kids shouldn't just be able to go to a house that I build and go, that's fucking crazy, Dad. Why don't I have this? Which then turned around and goes, maybe I stopped bringing my kids to the spec houses I build. Like, that's not how you want to live.
Right.
And then your wife stops going to those because she doesn't want to see it that you have linoleum floors at the house in the kitchen when you build this amazing product. You build an amazing product, but you value the product over your own, livelihood. So that's a real rub. And that's something I've been trying to figure out most of my life, is to take it all the way back to like when I talk to students now. And it's kind of like a campaign, is like, I want to be able to influence students where I want to tell them about my story, not all the bad stuff, but just, I want them to be aware of it. But I want them, if everyone always says, like, they always relate it to, relationships and girls, is like, oh, dude, if you knew what you knew now and you went back to elementary school, you'd crush. Like, you do. Like, if I could do that in the industry,
we all think we would crush, but really no.
I'd be still just as quiet and not do anything. But no, I think if I can tell these kids that, like, when you buy a tool and you have a notebook and figure out, like, a pair of sneakers, when's it wear out? And how much should you be charging for that tool on the next 5 jobs, instead of just you taking the ability to do that tool, then I'll be able to do more scope. You get me? It's like, there's a little bit of offset there that no one talks about. And I want to open their eyes to that you don't just chase skill. You have to figure out what your value is. And what's really cool is something that I just got involved with, which is, I'm not trying to parlay it into it, but this company called Project Network, which is up in Canada. And it's a bunch of builders that created this kind of like LinkedIn / the hell's it called? Like ZipRecruiter, like, where, like, for you to find someone that's a screen printer, like, you go on like LinkedIn. But imagine if there was just a platform for the trades. And I think you guys are the trades as well. Like, that you're makers, you're artisans. You do something where, so they're creating this startup where it is literally like, you typed in like all your stuff of what you did for a career and how much money you made. And then it gives you a value of what you are valued at in the industry. And it's working with AI and that stuff. It's not there yet, but I fucking love that it's matching your experience with community and money. Because, dude, like, I think it's funny, a lot of podcasts I do, and people go, hey, I started my own thing. When you started your own thing and you left that last company, what'd you make? Almost all of us got stuck at like $16, $17, $18 an hour, is where we did it for so long. And then that was this imaginary ceiling that we didn't know about. But if you knew and you could create a community and everyone knew what they were making, and like what I have now, and like my slides I'm telling the kids on Friday is like, yes, you live in Pennsylvania. And then I have all these pop-ups that show up on the screen. It's going to give kids like a seizure. But it's like, you can go to Utah. Here's somebody in Utah that's a builder that's amazing. Here's somebody in Arizona. Here's somebody in New Jersey. Here's somebody here. Here's somebody in Canada. You have zero excuses to chase your passion today. And then I go, my next slide is, oh, you want local? Here's local guys. Here's guys in Pennsylvania. Here's Black Boots. Here's, John Marley. Here's people that are right around the corner building $10, $20 million homes. So if you want to play around in that sandbox, no one's stopping you.
Right.
And so that's what I'm talking about. And I think I wish I had more of that when I was younger, and it just didn't happen. So now one of my goals going forward is to try and figure out what do I leave behind for my boys? I have two boys, 18 and 14. It's like, not like I leave behind good memories, jokes, good razzing and good energy. I love that part of it. And they're like my best friends, but more of like, hey, dad worked his ass off for what? I don't want them to realize something that I never did, from the outside looking in, that, yeah, he worked his ass off, but like, he's got nothing, no retirement, no savings, no second house, no beach house. He never got the Bronco, that type of thing. Like, all I have is right behind I have the little one. I have the little guy. No, it's a little bit bigger, but yeah, I have a couple of these. And you get me? Like, that's like, I want to be someone that doesn't overpromise to myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but like I said, I think you have round two now. Like, there isn't a reason why you shouldn't have the Bronco. There isn't a reason why you shouldn't have a fucking awesome thing. You're in that
but
stage now.
You don't think that has to happen? That you don't think I have to own something to see that benefit?
No, I think you use the skills that you have and you find the person who's going to let you have the sandbox and do the thing.
True. I just don't know if I need to play catch up too. I took a pretty good beating, and it's like, how do you?
But also, too, the thing is too is that you have this resource of all these people that looked up to you on socials and platforms and the podcast and all this other stuff, where you have a network now of trust to a degree of like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's not just like some random guy I have to find in Massachusetts. Like, you have this thing now where you can go around and shop around and be like, well, this is what I want to do, or this is where I want to be, or whatever.
I just think it's interesting that, like, imagine if you, like, let's say 10 years from now, so we're in our mid 50s, and you had to turn to your kids and they go, so why'd you work so hard? And your answer was to show them a whole bunch of shirts you printed.
I mean, that's a little more sad, I guess, but like,
no, but I'm saying, like, what I say to people when I do even like speaking gigs with professionals, I want them to be aware that, yes, I have an amazing portfolio of amazing projects. They did not pay my mortgage when I needed it. They did not add zeros to my bank account for commas, and they didn't give me any more security. The pictures didn't give me any of that.
Right.
So you have to be cognizant of what you're doing and how you're doing it and what your value is. And yeah, dude, when your passion's attached to something, it gets corrupted, and you want to have this fulfillment and to see it through. And the biggest thing is, like, I love it now because someone else puts a price tag on it for me. For my daily day, I get to sit back and do what I love with amazing clients, and the sky's the limit on details. And I get to sit down there and go, all right, how am I going to approach this guy who's definitely stubborn, who's not going to want to hear me and my pitch? Like, maybe I need to get a Red Bull for him. Maybe I need to bring in donuts. Maybe I need to hit this kid with the kitchen sink. I don't know what it is, but that's my day-to-day challenge, is to try and win people over, to try and get the most. So that way, when they walk away, they go, this is the proudest I've been in 40 years doing this. And that's huge for me. But, I think it's also giving back, that maybe this is the way I look at it now, is that maybe it is about, legacy is a really weird word. And that, that's what I kind of love about social media, is that, there's people that have come and gone, but they still live on social media. Like that, I joke around with people that I love that aren't on social media. I'm like, dude, you're going to have grandkids, and they're going to hear stories about you. But imagine if they could see a story from social media of you being you. Like, how incredible would that be? And I'm not super outgoing, but I do love being able to capture what I do on social. And that's leading me into, I came back to podcasting because I didn't think there was enough authentic voices in our industry. And to be completely honest with you, the people that are talking, if AI were to turn around and shape our industry and retell us that story, I would fucking hate it if it was done by their story and their words and their bullshit. So yeah, that's why I kind of came out of the woodwork and decided to scavenge all this stuff together and kind of create this little podcasts that it's hard to balance.
Well, I gotta
obviously.
say again, as the fly on the wall of all these things, and I follow a ton of those same people and all these other things, and I've always seen you as like the authentic one. So that's kind of why I've always gravitated towards me and you having conversations. Is like, this guy's talking about the good and the bad and the whatever. It's not just all like polished, like, oh, I built this fucking skyscraper, I built this, thing, and everything's perfect and everything's whatever. And it completely loses me. It's like, I don't care, like, at all. Like, I want you to explain the whole thing.
It's shit. Yeah. It's shit. But the problem is that when you have an image that you have to, this is the hardest part about what you and I are talking about. Like, your podcast is really raw. People tell it how it is. And I love that. And there's no like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. And maybe I should phrase that differently. And maybe people do enough podcasts, they know how to phrase it perfectly where it actually doesn't say anything.
Dude, you know how many times I finish these fucking things and I'm just like sweating of like, I just told somebody, like, I just told however many people listen to this thing that I'm vulnerable about, or that I feel ashamed about, or I feel whatever about. And it's like, but I'll say those things. And then 2 weeks later, a week later, or whatever, when the show comes out, I'll get DMs from people being like, I was going to quit yesterday. I was going to do this. I was going to whatever. And then you reminded me that, we're in this together, or that you're going through the same thing, and I looked up to this or whatever. And then they keep going or something. And then I'm like, oh yeah. Duh.
Or you made it through it. You made it through it, and they're at a point where they didn't think they could make it through it. Those DMs have really fed me to find time to do this, not just your podcast, but just in general, and to find time to want to give back to this industry. Like, when I went and got my job that I'm at now, if you ask them, my interview, they're like, so what do you want to do here? You want to be, I have qualification. I've been doing it for 27 years. So like, what do you want to be? I'm like, how about you guys just interview me a few more times and you guys figure out where I'm a good fit. Like, I didn't know if I was going to be in accounting, probably not, but like PM, super, PX, director of operate. I didn't have any goal. I was like, I didn't want to promise anything, because honestly, when you do something your entire life and then you get manipulated to a point where you don't think you're good at it anymore, it's such a weird place that you're like, what? Like, I know how to walk, play hockey, talk, and that's it. And now you're telling me that the other thing I've been doing just as long as those things, you suck at it? That's crazy. So that was really hard for me to figure out what it was. And then they took a chance on me. And so like, yeah, I will never ask for a raise. I'll never ask for anything from these people.
You just ask for the review.
No, but I won't even, like, they don't even, so they were great because they gave me, they're a company that knows what they're doing. And then, like, I remember I said, I didn't want to be attached to a company. You get me? Like, I don't even think on LinkedIn it even has the company name. It just says like custom builder, because I didn't want to have, any worries of blah, blah. And then he's like, yeah, you should take the Ranger. We have an extra Ranger truck. You should take that. I'm like, no, I don't need a truck. I'm good. He's like, I'm just going to park it at the house. Let me see if you like it. See if it works for you. And he parked it at my house and left it here. And I was like, he knew that my 18-year-old was going to start driving at the time. And I was going to either pick up a new payment that I couldn't afford. And I like took 2 weeks and I was like, you're right. I'll take the free truck. And I did that. And then they give me a new truck. It's a big truck. And he's just like, you get to go. And it's like, oh, you get profit sharing and you get end of year profit sharing. And you're like, when they take care of you for working your ass off, oh, you're going to run social media for us because you're good at social media? I'm going to pay you for that monthly.
Right. On top
it's
of
like,
that, yeah.
It's so like when you don't have to ask, that's when you found your sweet spot. And I think I tried to do that when I was an employer, and I love that aspect of it. So I love taking care of people. That's one of my big goals. But yeah, I think with the podcast is something, the way I look at things now, I don't know about you with the back nine, we'll call it, is that, yeah, I want to be healthier than I've ever been, because before it was like, I want to be healthy so that way I can run around and, be with my kids. Now they're older. So now I'm like, I need to be fit enough that I can run around with their kids when they have them. And my youngest is always calling me fat. And he's like, oh, what's up, fatty? Like, blah, blah. I'm like, line me up with any of the parents from your grade. Any of them.
I'm not going to self-deprecate, but like I was about to say, John, shut the fuck up. Like, don't tell me how unhealthy you are. Look at I'm sitting in front of you. Like I have issues. I don't want your kid to call you fat or whatever. And then like, if I was the other dad staying next to you, he'd be like, all right, Dad, you're fine.
No, he wouldn't. He would still in front of you call me whatever he wants. But now I take him to the gym, and I go hard in the gym, but now it's literally I want to be in good shape. So that way I can be a good example for them. That's the goal. And I've always tried to be that, but now it's like when you found yourself so far down on the list that it's like, whoa, what are we doing? So now it's like, all right, let's be a good fit. Let's be a good spokesperson. Now I'm like, I'm going to speak in front of kids that I want to. It's like, I want them to see an image of me in a nice pair of chinos and a nice sweater as a builder with a tape measure on, not the guy that they saw from like, a movie with the guy wearing a wife beater coming out of a piece of crap pickup truck. That's what we've all grown up with. So it's stigma, and it's trying to reshape their minds so that way they can shoot for something bigger if they want to, if their appetite's there. And that's the goal there. So the podcast, again, I fall in the same problem, is that I don't know how to make money off it. I mean, you read, I think 17 sponsors before the podcast starts on yours. I don't know how to do that. And
17, come on.
I know. I'm joking, but yeah, but I don't know how to ask for value. In doing this, you have to ask for certain things. Otherwise, they're not going to pay you. They're not going to just come out. They're not going to call you and go, "Hey, I want to give you 10 grand for the year for your podcast." Like, no, they're not. And I don't have enough time, and I edit everything myself. And like, I closed all my windows today because, your assistant was like, "Yeah, you got to do this." I'm like, God, I've been doing a podcast for how long? And I haven't known to do that. And it blew my mind, and I'm always learning. But now I'm going to try, and like I texted you about, like, I'm trying to do this whole video thing just because I don't think the content's there. Like, I don't think between magazines for our industry and the Build Show and This Old House, and I love This Old House. I love talking to Kevin and those guys. I talked to Rich Thui's son today, Ross, and like, there's just nothing that captures us. Like, I love your podcast. The guy that walks in and does the intro, fucking lights out.
Chad.
Love him. Love him. And then I sit there and go, since he goes in early, puts the camera up, and then goes back outside and then comes back. I love that. But, like, I love the whole thing that he's just like, nah, this. I had the camera there from yesterday, and I just edit out the whole night. But no, I love the energy that comes along with that whole thing. That you guys have.
I think that's the thing too. Again, like, you need somebody from the outside to tell you that. I think that if you were going to do the video thing, which I'm fucking all for, because I think you're right. I think it's desperately needed. But I think that the reason why certain things carry and will last is if you make it real and authentic. Like, don't make it and then it's authentic, it's you. And then you mentioned me having fucking 17 sponsors or whatever. But the thing is like, what happens is you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is something I need to do for money, or I have to do whatever. And then a sponsor comes along, and then you change it for them because they have their own way of something, or they give you a limit and say, well, we don't want anyone else in our space to be a part of this. And then you're limiting yourself to having real conversations, or you're afraid to hurt somebody's feelings or whatever. And then your video or your podcast or whatever it is turns into something else. And then eventually it just turns into a giant ad for somebody. And I see that all the time with screen printers. Yeah. I see that all the time with screen printers where someone offers them like, oh, we want to send you a product, or we want you to review this or whatever. And then it's like their entire feed is just like, all this product I have here is the best thing ever and whatever. And it's like, you know what? All the sponsors that we've gotten for Shirt Show are like legit. Like, I have a rule that basically, like, I don't want to have a sponsor from anybody that I don't already use and love and care about. Or
very true,
like, we've had so many other people. I don't want this to be this inflated thing, but like, we've had other companies come to us where they're like, hey, we want to sponsor too. Like, how can we, whatever? And I have to say no, because A, I either don't use them, or B, it'll change the show. Like it'll be like, well, if we take on M&R as a sponsor or Rock as a sponsor or whatever, then it's like people feel like they can't. And in my industry, there are two major manufacturers of equipment. Like it's like me saying Ryobi versus Milwaukee or something, and it's like
no contest.
Then no contest for sure. But I'm just saying, like, then it feels like only if you like this brand, then you can like this show, or all my opinions are only going to be in favor of that company.
It's going to be muted slightly because what you would normally say wouldn't be live. And I'm with you. It's the same as for me, This Old House. This Old House, I remember I asked them, I'm like, so when you do sponsors, how's that work? Because half the stuff that you guys do, I've never seen before. And it's usually when I do look it up, it's the most expensive. And they said to me, we set the bar all the way up. Okay. So my hand, for the people listening, my hand's all the way above my head. They let the industry fill in everything below. And I love that. So yeah, you're right. I've been asked by a bunch of other companies like Jobber and all these companies to sponsor. I'm like, no, I don't use it. But then the same token, it's like, if you want a video and you want to expand and you want to publish it weekly and you wanted to have it edited out because sometimes it doesn't, line up correctly to be able to give a good product, I either need to do less of it, which I'm going to get less sponsors of, or I need to grow it so that I can afford to do certain parts of it to make it a better product that I'm going to be able to publish.
Yeah, I think you aim for you shoot for the stars or whatever of like, I want this to be the biggest, best, whatever it can be. I'm just saying like pick sponsors or pick people to partner with that align with you. Like, the very first thing you were talking about, Frank or whatever, like Frank, I genuinely think makes the best fucking screens there are. Like, and he's just one of the greatest human beings I know. Like, I love Frank as a person. I love his company. I love what he's doing. I love everything about him. And like Easy Way, we talk about all the time. Like that's one of my great friends, Alex, like that company and everything they stand for. And I can call him today at 2 a.m. He'd probably pick up the phone. We could shoot the shit about whatever. Like all of these companies that I align myself with have the same values and same whatever I have. And even if I love Frank, to death and like his company or whatever, he would have no problems me talking about like having an interview with another screen manufacturer and getting the truth about how they do their thing and whatever. And that's what I say to all these people is like, I'm going to talk about whatever I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to say how I authentically feel about this thing, because then if I don't do that, then instantly it loses all credibility and it's just for a paycheck. And that's just not what it is. Yeah.
But in today's world, it's about making money for a lot of people. And that's not me. And I trust me, maybe I should have blended that into my life a little bit more and valued it. And I am trying to instill that in my boys, like even guys that I work with, like that are younger than me. And I go, hey, you should have a review. Do you know what you're going to ask for a number? And they're like, no. I'm like, what do you make now? And they're like, well, I'm like, I don't care. I'm not judging you on it, but I want you to be comfortable talking to me about it. So that way you're comfortable talking about it in general with whoever it is in a professional manner. And I want people to do everything that I didn't do. Let me save you the slack and the drama and the depression and all the bullshit. And let's just cut to the chase and just see you be successful, and that's my goal. And yeah, I know this weekend is going to be a nervous weekend for me because I'm trying to do like my prototype, like my test version of it. So I drive down to PA, and then I'm like, I added the tech school talks on top of it. And I'm like regretting that over the last 2 weeks that I've put down the whole presentation. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to do storyboards. So, I texted you, but my goal is to take like a Warren Miller ski video and combine that with This Old House with a little bit of MTV Cribs mashed into it, where I go meet people that aren't trying to be famous or influencers, people that I find on social media that I pick through all these things and I block people because I don't want to see their shit. They make great stuff, but I don't need to see it. And I find people like the guy I'm going to go see this weekend is Black Boots. Great branding, great stuff that you'll love. I think you'll love the logo part of it because it makes sense and it's placed well on the shirt. And I'm a psycho like that. Like I can't tell you how many times I've sent you shirts that I love. I'm like, can we do this? Can we do this shirt? I don't know what their brand is because they put their own logo on it. But I love that stuff. And I'm going to see him and and I'm going to film with them all, like half the day Friday, since we're doing the Vogue School Kids talk, and then all day Saturday. And the goal is to literally have 2 cameras set up and do a full, like I even got like the fancy lights and all that stuff. So all Facebook, dude. I'm a savage on Facebook. But everything. So I can have the interview with 2 cameras, do a little bit of that, do a little bit of, walking and talking under the gun and lift the hood up and see how this guy ticks and why he does what he does. And hopefully that resonates with other people to go, I've been doing it this way and I'm hoping it works out. But you're telling me that guy is doing it and it is working out in Pennsylvania and he's crushing it. And he's got this amazing group of 10 people that he lives and dies by. And I cannot wait to hopefully bring his insight and his story to life in a video that hopefully is 30 minutes long. And I have it all blocked out. Like I sent you that video from Derek from Huckleberry.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I watched him, dude, on a Stairmaster when I did 300 flights, trying to time out how long each clip is from when they do like a drone, that's 3 seconds, to when they do the car ride to 7 seconds, to how much audio, how much B-roll. Dude, but it's a combination of things. And it's like, so I have the history of Pennsylvania and I have to get videos of Amish people and that stuff live. And then I have to post edit it and color grade it because I have a Sony FX30 and an A7 III. So I have 2 cameras that I'm doing with the drone, and everything else. And I just have it all in my head. And I'm going to see John Marley, who's in Pennsylvania on Sunday, who's doing a $21 million build that I think he's a better super than me at 37. And I look up to him, which is awesome. Like you don't need to be older than me to look up to somebody,
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that people that don't know about him, my little platform will give more people the ability to see him and gain confidence from these videos. Cause I would want to watch it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, to wrap all this up, I don't know what it is, and I don't want to act like I know what it is. And I think that's the biggest reason why a lot of people listen to this podcast is they understand that I don't fucking know either, and I'm figuring it out along with them. But it's kind of like me and you have a similarity where we're just trying to figure it out like everybody else, but we're trying to also put ourselves out there to show that, like, tell people about the ways that we've been kicked in the teeth. Yep. And be like, hey, I'm trying to save you from being kicked in the teeth too. And I don't know, that's all it is really. Like we were talking about sponsorships and like what I think about this and the money, this or whatever, but it's most of what I get out of this show is I get to have a conversation with you for 2 hours. Like
it's therapy.
Yeah, 100%. Like I get to learn something from you. I get to selfishly take that information that we just talked about and it inspires me to do this, that, or the other thing. And that's my payment for this. Like a lot of work goes into this fucking thing in the behind the scenes to come out with a show once a week and whatever else. And it's like, I love it though. Like I would do it without any money at all.
It would be selfish if you kept it to yourself. That's the reason why we started doing podcasts and stuff. Cause I felt like when I went to this guy, Artisan Signature Homes, Jason, I went out to his place. He had me stay at his house and I stayed there. We sat in his kitchen till like 2 a.m. And I remember I flew back from Kentucky and I was like, dude, I wish people could have heard that conversation. So now that's the podcast. The podcast is literally when I usually send my list out to people, I send them like a little note from my Apple phone and I let them collaborate. And the first thing is, hey, I want it to be 60-40, you talking. If I tell a story, it's basically to get you to open up because people don't usually open up because they don't do this all the time. And I go, beat my story if I tell it. And I go, this whole goal is that we're sitting around a campfire and we're letting the listeners be a fly on the wall. That's the essence of the whole
same thing. That's what's nice about doing this one is I didn't have to say much. I could just give you a little thing and you just went with it. And it was awesome.
Just tee it up. I'm actually trying to do one that is a deep dive into my story. And I'm going to have Kevin O'Connor be the guest host of my podcast.
Oh, fuck yeah. I would love that.
That's the goal. So
I love Kevin. He's one of my favorites.
He's a hot shit, dude. I did one with him already, but I had a bad mic and his audio didn't come through. So I'm
isn't that the worst?
Super bummed about it. Dude, You have no idea how much struggles I've had with gear and like,
well,
not
I've had
having
the
a
same
tech guy
thing.
with me.
And that's the thing is a lot of people won't realize this either because the episodes never came out. But I've done,
Yeah.
I mean, over all these years, it hasn't been that many, but maybe like 4 or 5 episodes twice. Where it's like we did the whole episode, we talked for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I learned all this like new information about this person, and then Riverside or whatever dropped the episode. And then I have to be like, hey, I don't want to tell you you're never going to have an episode. So if you want to do another one, we literally have to do this all over again. And for me, it's the worst because I don't want it to be inauthentic. I want to learn this information about you right now. I don't want to have to ask you all the same questions again and act like I'm interested. Like, oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't know that. And it's like,
I imagine burning 2.5 hours of Kevin O'Connor's time. He made the time to come out and visit my site. We did it in the old barn that we did. It was gorgeous. I'll send you photos of like where I had the setup done. I got there early. I set it up, then went back to work. He showed up, and then we just chilled out for 2.5 hours, just catching up on old times. And it was just like, then I couldn't use it. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. I was so crushed. You know,
I would rather make something up at that point to him and just be like, oh, I talked about this thing I shouldn't have.
I sent it to an audio guy to try and cut it out. That's why I switched over my stuff to the Rode Castle. So where they have individual things. But yeah, no, man, it's I wish I was better at it, and I'm only getting better. It's the same as flying a drone. I fly it every week. So after 10 years, I'm pretty fucking good with it. So now it's like every day I use my cameras to kind of catch B-roll and catch people doing their thing. And that's another part of it is you're celebrating people that normally don't get celebrated on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And then I show them the video or they see it on social and they're like, oh, that's me. That's it.
Well, it's like you're talking about those guys on the roof or whatever.
Yeah,
like, hey, they're going to take a picture. Like they wouldn't normally have a good picture taken of them or a drone footage of them
on the roof chilling.
Yeah.
It's so much of it's about culture that you create and how you shape it. I'm sure you do that in the shop. And I do need to get up there one of these days. And I think I've answered so many questions about you renovating that place over the years. You know,
I know
it's been a trip.
Well, John, I appreciate you doing this with me. What is, I guess for the people listening, what is the new podcast or where can they find it? Or what is the video thing going to be? Or do you not want to talk about that yet?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I'm going to put it out there so that way it forces me to anchor and do it. It's The Glorified Carpenter is what it's on social media. And it's on iTunes, Spotify. It's just finding builders, artisans, and contractors all over the U.S. and kind of telling their story. And it's a long format, so it gives people something to listen to that earn the trades from their commute or whatever. So I think my shortest is 30 minutes because it was an author who could only give me 30 minutes. All the others are usually like 2.5, 3, and my longest is 4:18. And that one is my third highest ranking podcast, which is crazy.
Isn't it nuts that the really long ones are usually the ones that do the best? But it's like,
yeah, dude, renovator out of I forget where he's out of, but just not a huge following, nothing. You know, which I don't care.
It doesn't matter. It's the story.
Yeah. It's just his conversation. It was all technical and we just deep dived and I think that's what, you know, I want people to have it so that way if they are going through something or they can have a buddy, they can be in that conversation, put in a cabinet that sucks for a client that blows, but they can find themselves in a different planet with us talking, you know, that's the goal.
Yeah, for real. All right. I got to ask you, well, we kind of went over some of these, but I'm going to skip the greatest shop fail question because we kind of went over that already.
Yeah. Almost losing everything. Yeah.
What build are you the most proud of that you've done?
It's funny. I've also been asked that by clients. I think it's always my last one because you're only as good as the last one you've done. And
okay, give me a real answer.
It was pretty badass. The last one I did was a $21 million project. We did the house, which was like 13,000 square feet. I did my first home theater in it and I fucking crushed it. I put everything into it. And then my first sauna was that house. And like literally we turned the sauna on and had a meeting in the sauna, like fully clothed just to be like, yeah, this son of a bitch works. And the sound was on, everything. And did that. Like my son, before they moved in, my 14-year-old took a bunch of his friends, like 7 friends, and we watched a movie in the theater. So like to be able to cross-pollinate and show them what the abilities are. And then we did the second phase of that was taking an old horse barn and turning that into a recreation barn. So it had like a full bar. We turned like the whole left side of the barn into a bowling lane, big ball bowling from Brunswick. So no messing around, like the full setup. I can tell you it's 86 foot, 6 inches is the full length of a bowling lane. And it's, 11 and a half inches deep is what it sits into a pocket. And then we put a simulator upstairs. And so my son brought his friends over and used that. And then the client's not there in the summer. So we went there and used the simulator all summer for golf. And then we put a timber frame.
Isn't it crazy? You're talking about this fucking insane house and you're like, he's only there half the year.
Yeah. But the memories that they make, like they had a Halloween party, dude. They invited 160 people expecting 40% to say no. 2 people said no. That's what we do. We give, yes, a home is only what is made of it with the people in it. But if I give them an amazing spot to make something happen in, that's where the magic is. If it's a suck place to hang out, then it's crap. But yeah, so we did. Yeah,
that should be your tagline for your next business: is not a suck place to hang out.
And then we did a timber frame that was this company called Barnyard, who I just hung out with them last week. That was the post I put up where we're in his barn, which has a full helicopter in it, and he drives to like different job sites. We're partnering up with them with a really cool project coming up, but they did a timber frame for us on that same property. So they have an outdoor pavilion with a fireplace, and it's with a tennis court, the whole 9 yards. It's everything I'd ever want, and I was able to live vicariously through them. So yeah, I've done some cool projects, and I do love the one that I lost my shirt on. It's absolutely gorgeous, but I've used my talent to its max on every one of them. That's why I say it's my last one is my best. Okay. Don't judge me on the one I did first. Judge me on the one I did last.
That's true. It's a good way to put it. All right. Top 4 favorite movies.
Oh, I had these when I listened to the first one a couple weeks ago.
Are you just going to give me Boston movies?
No, I'm not going to give you the town. I do love it, but I'm old school, like Goonies, Back to the Future.
I get Back to the Future so much.
Yeah, it's a good one, man. I have my kids watch it. Like I love, those are my core. And then I have like, my kid will joke, I'll put Ready Player One on. Like,
I love that movie.
Whenever I want. Mm-hmm. I read the book. I had my boys. I bought the Ready Player 2 book for my boys. It is like literally what's happening today. I don't know if you've listened or watched that movie or listened to
Ready
the
Player
one,
but I didn't know there was a second thing.
There's a book, Ready Player 2, and it's literally like what's happening now.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. It's a really good book, and I'm not a big book guy, but that's a great movie. So I did.
I don't
Back
know.
To the Future.
Well,
Goonies.
I want to say this about Back to the Future because I learned this recently, and again, it's from the internet, so I hope it's real. But they were talking about the original script for Back to the Future before it was picked up. Was that, and they never showed this in the movies, obviously, or anything, because the question is always, how did Doc and Marty know each other? Like, Doc's an old scientist that is by himself for the most part, and then Marty's a high school student. Why do these two fuckers know each other? Well, what I found out from the original script was that Doc wanted to fund building the time machine by selling drugs. Like, he made drugs in the lab and had Marty selling them in high school.
No way.
Yeah.
I'm looking that up. I'm going to ask AI that later. Figure it'll probably just make something up.
So that's how they knew each other. And that's why the principal and stuff like hated Marty, like thought he was a bad kid, probably because he was selling drugs at the high school.
That's insane. I do love that nowadays you can get so much deeper into stuff.
Yeah.
That's
like one of my favorite things though. Like, I love watching movies and I love what all of that world, but like one of my favorite things to do is on YouTube is just like watch people talk about movies or deep dive into like behind the scenes or original scripts or anything like that. Like, that's where I find the most fascinating shit.
I do love my
Back to the Future, Ready Player One,
Goonies. I'm a big Goonies guy. And then, God, I don't know what my fourth one is. I'm a big military guy. I wasn't in it, but I've watched all of them, like 13 Hours, Lone Survivor, all that stuff. So I would probably say it's like one of those ones. I do like 13 Hours.
Like American Sniper or...
Yeah, Chris Kyle and that stuff. I mean, that one's good too. But yeah, I know it's all propaganda and it's all pivoted. Like Lone Survivor was written by the CIA is what they say, all that stuff. But it's
still,
I mean,
as a movie person, it's still entertaining. Like that's what I look
Lone
for.
Survivor, I've only watched it once because I'm absolutely crushed by the fact that they sent a Chinook up there and 16 more veterans died, which I can't do that again. I can't watch that twice. So
I feel like I've watched that movie maybe 2 or 3 times. And the craziest part about that movie is when they're falling down the hill.
Yeah.
And they're just like hitting trees and hitting rocks and shit. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Those stunt guys are out of their minds.
I know. And I watched the thing about that, and they were saying that they just kept doing it. Like they wanted it to look as real as possible. And they just like kept tumbling, like hit it, like it's just wherever your body goes. And it's just like,
it's insanity. Yeah. I mean, I do. So, I mean, I'll turn something on that's military. It's, Hacksaw Ridge, any of those things, Fury. I'm a stickler for all that stuff.
Fury is so fucking good. And it's so underrated.
Yeah.
We quote
plus
that
the players
movie
in it
all
are
the
phenomenal.
time. Every actor in that movie is amazing. We say broke as fuck all the time at work. When he's talking about the fucking tracks on the tank when they're kind of screwed at the end, and he's just like broke as fuck or whatever. Like we say that all the time.
Dude, Shia LaBeouf on that one. That whole
he chipped his tooth and cut his face in real life for that movie.
He's out of his mind. I love him. I think he's coming back to the new Transformers is what I heard. And so, I'm a movie guy. I always have been. It's tough to pick a favorite. I'm just like those ones I'll put on anytime.
It's impossible to have favorite movies.
It's really tough. Even like Goonies Lego just came out with the Goonies ship, which I was like, no way. But it's really the minifigs. The ship's not that great. It's the minifigs that are the cool part of it. But I'm not going to spend $325 on it. I did buy Home Alone, fucking classic. I can't get away from that. I'll watch that right away. And I bought the Lego for the boys. My boys are big Legos, so I did the Home Alone. Then I even bought the lighting kit for it, so it lights up inside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a side hustle there. People do that. So it's
sick side hustle.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, movie wise, it's a good way to separate from everything and just kind of get lost. Yeah, and I think it's something to do with anxiety where if you know the ending, it's comforting, even though there's that suspension of disbelief. But there's something going on there for me.
See, that's the thing
from anywhere.
The movies I don't like is where they never explain the ending. That's where I lose my shit, where I'm like, you have no conclusion.
Yeah.
I just talked about it on this show on one of the episodes recently, where there's this show called House of Dynamite on Netflix. And it was like the most infuriated I've been at a movie in a long time.
Really? No, I did. Is that the one that's
where they shoot the nuke at the United States?
Yeah.
They fucking explain nothing.
Yeah.
The movie just ends.
That's the same as
they tell the story 3 times.
And it's a good movie too. And
it is a good movie, and you want the payoff at the end. Like, at least just show Chicago getting annihilated.
Boom. Like, it's already
and then
on
be
its
like,
way.
it was the North Koreans. Like, just explain it a little bit. They did nothing. They were just like, nope.
There's no way that guy got a nuke over here. There's no way. The guy that hits like, what do you say? He golfed and he hit like 6 hole-in-ones. Is that what the story goes?
It's made up. It's not real.
It's crazy.
It's all AI.
No, I'm with you. Right, I do love.
Thank you, John. I appreciate you. I'll let you get back to real life, but I'm always rooting for you. And obviously, we'll keep talking whenever. But thank you
I love
for
the
sharing.
success you've had, man. You kill it.
I try. Well, thanks, man. I'll see you later.
You got it, brother.